These young men, these young faces, the future, our future.
I've grown up with a dream that I play AFL. I love it. I love footy.
I'd mean the world. It's what you live for.
Tonight, the night they've longed for, the dream they've lived over and over.
It'd be a dream come true to be drafted and to walk into an AFL club. If that was to come true, it'd be a massive, massive honour and a dream come true, I guess.
What would it mean to be an AFL footballer? It'd probably mean the world.
I'd be very grateful if I got the chance.
The work he's done, the torture to get to this point, to get this opportunity to now become elite. It's a lifetime's work in the making.
The #1 draft pick, Tom Scully, David Swallow, Jonathan Patton,
Lockie Whitfield, Thomas Boyd,
Paddy McCartan,
Jacob Wiedering.
It doesn't matter if you pick one. Sure, it would be nice, but pick 40 is just as fun.
Brandon White.
To walk into an AFL club would be a huge honour for my parents, my family and all my friends, just to make them proud.
If your name is read out tonight, it all starts. To follow in the footsteps, the journey to the big time, the journey to fulfil a dream. Who knows what awaits?
There's nothing else I want to do. It's pretty simple. It's just the sport I love, Australia's game, and there's nowhere else I want to be.
So young men, roll up your sleeves. The dream, your dream, starts now.
If I'm fortunate enough to get read out, then it'd be pretty surreal.
It's the New South Wales capital providing a stunning backdrop to the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. The Opera House and the Harbour Bridge amongst the most recognisable of landmarks. Good evening and welcome one and all to Sydney's Hordern Pavilion for this year's NAB AFL Draft. So much hope, anticipation and expectation in the build-up. And to all those young men with their families and friends gathered around TVs right across the country, we wish you the best of luck tonight. And what a draft it should be. If you're a Gold Coast Suns supporter, get excited. Picks 4, 6, 8 and 10. The Giants have got 10 picks inside the top 4 rounds, including 2 first-rounders. Of course, we'll have some father-son selections. Famous names like Dacos and Brown hoping to land at Collingwood, and Waterman at the West Coast Eagles. But what price will those clubs be asked to pay? Similarly, the same applies to the academy selections. Young stars at the academies of the Giants, the Suns, the Lions and the Swans will be in hot demand tonight. And of course, you can follow everything that happens throughout the course of the draft online at foxfooty.com.au. Every pick from tonight's draft, you'll get a club-by-club report card immediately after the draft and full profiles and descriptions of every draftee. That's online at foxfooty.com.au. And as you would expect, it is an expert panel to cast their eyes over proceedings tonight. The game's record holder and a 3 times best and fairest from the Western Bulldogs, a man that was taken at pick number 11 way back in 1993. Brad Johnson, good evening to you, Jono.
Thank you, Jason. Good evening. It really is a fantastic night. I love this night because the dream, every young man's dream to play in the AFL, it may become a reality tonight, and it starts from the minute their name is called out.
Alongside him, another 300 gamer, a 4-time best and fairest and premiership player from the Port Adelaide Football Club. It's a great pleasure to have Kane Corns with us tonight. Kane?
Thanks, Jay. So every player remembers exactly where they were when their name was read out in the draft, unless it's yourself and they didn't
pre-draft
have the draft when you were recruited. But spare a thought for the recruiting managers, the footy that they've watched throughout the year, the flights that they've taken, hundreds and hundreds, to get it right, to set their club up for their next shot at the premiership.
And of course, no panel would be complete without the AFL's National Manager for Football Talent in Michael Abbott. Good evening to you, Mick.
Thanks, Jace. I was just looking at that, mate. Between the 4 of us, we've had a pretty handy AFL career, haven't we?
Let's cast our attention at the top 10 picks. There's so much talk about who's going to go early in the draft, and these are the clubs that have the coveted top 10 selections.
And you look there, Essendon with pick 1. We wait in anticipation for who they will call out with that selection there. But it is the Gold Coast Suns, I think, with the 4 picks inside the top 10. They have some big decisions to make for their list.
Yeah, and you look at those Gold Coast picks there, we see Carlton and Freo in between them. So that's going to massively shape the top 10 because they'll be trying to get a feel for what both of those other clubs are trying to do so that they can get on the board first.
A lot of discussion, debate, arguments about who's going to go number 1. We know that Hugh McCluggage and also Andrew McGrath are highly favoured. talks of Taranto perhaps jumping up and a Setterfield. Which way do you think it's going to go, Jono?
I'm going to lean towards Andrew McGrath. I think I love the way, I love his power and his footy. Look, he's only 179 centimetres tall, but averages 32 disposals in the TAC Cup. Can find good footy, can go back and play defensively and negate an opposition player. Run off half-back, 2016 All-Australian. For me, his year was absolutely outstanding and he deserves that honour to be number one.
What about your thoughts, Mick?
I'm going to disagree a little bit with Jono here. Look, I think it's pretty clear for mine. It's Hugh McCluggage. Morris medalist in the TAC Cup, kicked 4 goals in the NAB All-Stars game at Punt Road, All-Australian. That's it in a nutshell for me. A big game performer. He's put the runs on the board when it's mattered. And look, I still think the one thing with Hugh McCluggage, I think he's still got massive upside.
Looking forward to the number 1 selection, given you're an Essendon supporter as well, Mick. So let's hope that they do get it right. Now, if you get confused about the bidding system for academy and father-son selections, don't worry. Confuses the hell out of me as well. But the best way to solve this dilemma is to get a couple of pretty professional types like Brad Johnson and also Anthony Hudson to explain exactly how the process works.
Thank you, Jace. You remember last year we had the introduction of the bidding system for players coming from the Northern Academies or under the father-son. And, Jono, we love a father-son, and we want to show what would happen, for example, if Collingwood, as they may do, try and get the son of Gavin Brown, Callum Brown.
Well, what they need to do is they need to come up with a certain number of points. So if Essendon were able to maybe put that selection at pick 29, that's worth 653 points. Collingwood would have to come up with that. Pick 1 in the draft is worth 3,000. Pick 73 is worth 9. So it'll fall somewhere in the middle. They need to achieve 653 points, the Pies.
Yeah, so every pick has a value with the amount of points. And we've picked 29 because that might be roughly where Essendon, for example, bid on Callum Brown. So then the question is, how do Collingwood get it? Well, they're given a bit of a boost. They get a bit of a discount, and it's for every pick past the first round. It's 197 points. So instead of having to get 653...
That's right.
It's 456.
Which is great, isn't it? The tradition continues, father-son tradition, which is great. It allows clubs to achieve it. Collingwood need to come up with 456 points. This is how they're going to do that. They have to use their next selection in the draft, pick 44. It's worth 362 points. So not quite at the 456 yet.
They need more.
They need more. They go to pick 51. That's worth 259 points. So all of a sudden, they've achieved the 456. They'll tick off Callum Brown, and they've got some credit in the bank, worth 165 points.
So they lose those 2 picks. They certainly lose pick 44, and then 51 ends up getting moved down the scale because, as you said, they get 165 points left over. Just like every other pick, that's allocated a position. As it turns out, you can see it would be pick 59 under our example.
So it's a great result for Collingwood. It really is. They get Callum Brown. All they do is lose pick 44. 51, as you just mentioned, moves to pick 59. It's a big tick for the Pies.
So they get Callum Brown, and you never know, Jace, with that pick 59 under our example, they might use that to get another father-son, Josh Dacos.
Hopefully that makes everyone a little wiser as to exactly how that process does unfold. So there's a lot of tactics involved, a lot of strategies heading into the draft, and GWS is a classic example. So they've done an exchange of picks with Brisbane to get themselves up to pick 2, hoping they don't have to burn the first early pick on Will Setterfield, one of the young stars from the academy that they desperately want. So hopefully they can get a great player at pick 2 and then get Setterfield after that. Is that the way it works, Mick?
Yeah, you're spot on, Jason. It's a fantastic job by Wayne Campbell and his football management group there at GWS to have the ability to get the second best player in the draft before you take a look at the likes of Setterfield, Perryman, Cumming, even McCready a little bit further out, puts them in a fantastic position to have a great night at the 2016 draft.
Certainly going to be a very interesting evening. Let's take a look at things, Kane, from a club perspective. And it's fair to say when we take a look at some of the facts and figures that the draftees at some clubs have had a much bigger immediate impact.
If we have a look at the impact that draftees have had at the Bulldogs, just over the last 2 years, 128 games they've got from their draftees. The likes of Caleb Daniel, Toby McLean, Josh Dunkley, Zane Cordy, they're not household names. They weren't necessarily high picks, but all 4 played a vital role in the Bulldogs premiership this year. And the players behind me tonight, in 2 years' time, could think that they're part of a premiership side. You look at the other end of the spectrum, I guess, and North Melbourne and the rebuild that they're currently going through, the class and experience that they've lost. Picks 11 and a couple of picks in the second round tonight. Vital for the likes of North Melbourne and clubs like that haven't brought a lot of young talent in the last 2 years to get it right tonight.
It's an amazing table because the teams on the left-hand side, the 8 teams that have invested most in the young kids, all finished outside the 8. except for the team that had invested most heavily, and that was the Premiers, your old team, the Western Bulldogs, John.
You've got to understand as well, the Bulldogs didn't play finals from 2011 for about 4 years, I think it was, so 4 or 5 years. So therefore they were able to stockpile. Yeah, they had to get the draft picks right. They were able to do that, and it was those draft picks you mentioned, especially over the last couple of years, that had a big impact. Hawthorn down the other end have been extremely successful, had to go about it a different way because of where they've finished each year on the ladder.
You don't necessarily have to be an early pick to be a sensation in this game. Cast your mind back to 2014. A young man by the name of Caleb Daniel slipped all the way down to pick 46.
Daniel fires it long down towards full forward. It bounces through for a goal.
They maintain possession, and Daniel, he sold everyone the wrong way, the little man, and then he kicks a brilliant goal.
Oh, Caleb Daniel, don't you? He did. What a goal by Daniel.
Knock on by Stringer, comes to Dallas, took a bounce, run down from behind, still got the handball away, and almighty crash by Smith, picked up by Daniel, goal, player of the year.
I love it. I love footy, and I always had a passion. Back up in Horse Creek, we play footy for the love, for the love. We don't play structure footy up there because we love the game. It's the only sport we play up there, and it's pretty much just run down by generation throughout our family. Everyone who played footy in my family is footballers, and also our rodeo riders who compete in rodeo, ride bulls, ride wild horses, and work on cattle stations. Coming from Horse Creek, up in the Kimberley region in Western Australia, I thought I could get away, go down to Perth for my schooling, finish off my schooling, and try to continue my footy career. And once I started playing some good footy in Perth, I kind of took every opportunity with both hands and got a lot of opportunity, to get involved with state academies and national academies, and ended up in every state in Australia. Even had the opportunity to go over to New Zealand and even over to the USA. So I'm pretty fortunate and pretty lucky in a way, but I'm glad that I've made that opportunity to move on and to continue my footy career.
Welcome back to the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. Sam Petrevski-Seaton. And if you follow the common train of thought, Mick, most people think he's going to be a very early selection this evening.
No doubt about it. There's not many in the room tonight. There's not many available to be selected that are genuine match winners, and he just waits for those big moments. He thrives in them. He gets better and better. And one of the things that struck me about him as a 15-year-old playing up at Blacktown was his ability to just hunt the opposition. He goes after them, and don't worry, he gets most of them too.
You see the stand out straight away with the vision. You might have seen the vision for the first time, see the way that he goes about his footy brief. He's got a sharp step. He's going to be able to hit a target by foot quite effectively. So, class act.
A number of the clubs have taken different approaches to this year's draft. Some have built their list through the trade period and also through free agency. Hawthorn, for instance, who don't enter the draft until picks in the 80s. Others have traded to get a heap of early picks to get all that good quality youth on the list.
Yeah, well, in talking to some clubs in the lead into this, Jace, one recruiter that had been around for quite some time said it might be the best draft ever, which I was really surprised about. But it is, but look, I've got no doubt this is going to bat really deep, and I think that was a little bit reflective of the clubs clearing out their lists and allowing plenty of space to make selections tonight.
Comes down again, Kane, to where the club's at. We went through the graph before. Where you finished on the ladder, okay, you're going to trade in to try and stay up there, or try and bolster your list, or do you go back to the draft and rebuild?
Yeah, that's it. And I think the philosophy for most clubs, maybe Gold Coast aside, is you just pick the best talent for your first two picks. Whoever's there, just go grab them. Don't worry about your needs. We'll get to that later. Perhaps Gold Coast the only exception to that.
I know, Kane, you've done a little bit of a background check on the recent history of clubs and their success at the draft table. And who do you think the pressure falls upon most this evening?
Well, anytime you've got the number one pick, Jace, I think there's some level of pressure that comes with that, and it's exciting for the Bombers. The first time they've ever had the number one pick, you can see there they've had pick number two twice, but number one pick is something completely different, and a good news story for the Bombers tonight. Is it McGrath? Is it McGluggage? You two are split. That's how close it is.
That's why you're sitting in the middle.
That's right.
And that's why there's pressure on the Bombers. In 3 or 4 years' time, we're going to look back and say, yep, they got it right. Perhaps they did, perhaps they didn't. We can see the strengths of both players as they come up now. McGrath, Terrier looks to be ready-made and go in and have an impact straight away. Mick, you're saying McCluggage has a bit more development and growth with him.
Yeah, and like I said, you're virtually splitting hairs over the two. You've got to look, Andrew McGrath was a 400-metre national hurdles champion, so you're talking about a young man that 1 minute's probably preparing for the Olympics and the next minute's looking at pick one in the AFL.
You see the Essendon recruiting staff there, along with John Worcester. They could throw something completely unknown at us, and we're talking about these two guys, but we wait and see.
We will find out shortly. What about your old team, Kane? They've fallen off the pace the last couple of years.
They have.
They need to have a big draft.
Yeah, no doubt they have, and they've invested heavily to get these picks tonight. You can see they hold picks 14, 17, 30 and 31. Clearly, they're going to go after some midfielders. You can see there, they've only had 5 top 31 picks since 2011, so they've given up a lot to get Dixon and Paddy Ryder in the building. They only have 4 players under the age of 20 on their list, which is the second fewest in the competition, and they've only taken 2 genuine midfielders in the draft since 2002. They got a pretty good one with Ollie Wines, but you'd expect them to take 3 or 4 midfielders tonight, and that could put them right back on the map.
Now, we know also that there's a lot of scrutiny on football in Queensland, and Gold Coast in particular. It's time for them to get moving, and they will never have a better opportunity than having 4 picks in the top 10.
Probably the best hand any club's had since the expansion sides came in. The 4 picks inside 10 we've spoken about. Then a big gap, nothing till 72. Their spine on their list is outstanding. We know that, as good as any of the other sides in the competition. Ablett will come back fit, Swallow they'll be able to get fit, and I loved what they did in the off-season with the players that they brought in, Lyons, Hanley, we know that. They got Michael Barlow from the Dockers. Yes, they lost Prestia, Bennell, O'Meara and some quality, but tonight, 4 picks inside 10, you'd think they'll be able to replace those.
All right, well, we have an interview specialist roaming the floors tonight. He was pick number 77 back in 1994. I speak of former Hawks champ Ben Dixon, and he has caught up with the Gold Coast Suns list strategy manager in Scotty Clayton.
Thank you, Jason. Some kind words there from you, which is rare. Scotty Clayton, tonight, a manic trade week. You've lost some players, you've got some experience in. 4 picks inside the top 10 must make you pretty happy.
Yeah, look, we're really excited. This whole period, when you look through the balance of it, mature age players, and then our picks tonight, which bring in some hopefully great talent. I'm sure we will, and then being able to invest in some future picks for next year. So it's been pleasing.
And Jack Bowes, your first academy boy, must be exciting for the future of the Suns.
Yeah, that's hopefully ends up a great story tonight. Clearly, he's a really talented young man from a great family, and has already sort of bought in massively to the Gold Coast, and relocated from Cairns, and it's a long way, and he's done really well. Injuries
hit the Suns a bit this year. You've brought some experience in, but tonight in the top 10, you got the 4 picks. Which way do you go? Is it just talent available? Is it needs? You tell us what it might be.
Oh, look, you always like a nice balance at the end in regards to leadership and different positions and different athletic capabilities. So we've spent a lot of time on working out how we're going to cut it up, and as I said, it's all to an exciting end.
Just quickly, Scotty, Essendon have got a tough choice. McCluggage, McGrath, it could be anyone really. How hard is that decision for a number 1 pick?
Look, a lot of work goes into every pick, but there's extra pressure. You can't hide from that. Once again, it's a great position to be in, and I know how thorough they've been in trying to follow and second guess who it may be, so it makes your job a bit clearer later on. I'm sure they'll make the right call.
Thanks for your time, Scotty. Good luck tonight. Back to you, Jason.
Thanks, Dicko. Our draft commentary team will be led by Sarah Jones this evening. Michael Ablett will be joining her. And as we catch up with Sarah now, she's with the national and international talent manager from the AFL, Kevin Sheehan. Good evening, Jonesy.
Thank you very much, Jace. Kevin, your 31st draft, the talent pool is incredibly deep, particularly in the midfield ranks, and the talent comes from right across Australia.
Oh, Sarah, that's what I love about it, to see that, small communities with great football clubs will get some recognition tonight. Halls Creek and the Kimberleys of WA will produce players. Cairns in far north Queensland will have a draftee or two. And, of course, even Broken Hill on the border of New South Wales and South Australia will have players taken. A great reward for those people to develop those areas as hotspots for talent.
A lot of speculation about where Tim English, the All-Australian ruckman, might be taken, particularly given clubs' attitudes towards big men aren't always easy to predict.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, won't it? I look at the number ones over the years. There were a few ruckmen early days, but I think Tim's a first rounder. He's the best ruckman in the draft, potentially, a 205-centimetre boy that developed magnificently this year. He stepped up through the grades in the waffle, was an All-Australian at national level, and just his mobility, his courage in the air give you an indication he's got the traits to be a star of the game into the future.
I look forward to picking your brain throughout the evening. Jace, back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Never easy ranking all these players, but we've tried to do it. We've come up with the Fox Footy rankings for the top 100 players. This is based on a combination of statistics, expert opinion and all the latest intel. And we're going to try and keep an eye on these players the way we've ranked them throughout the course of the evening.
Well, all clubs do it, and they'll drop off as they get selected as well, Jason. You can see there the type of position that we've identified they play as well. You've got to have a bit of flexibility in that these days as a type of player, but where they dominated throughout their years this year in 2016. But also, I look to the next graphic here. Pick number 35 is, for me, Isaac Cumming. GWS Academy player, a late call-up to be here at the draft tonight, so maybe some speculation around that. One of the clubs may bid on him a little bit earlier.
Yeah, certainly, Jono. It's one of those things with the evenness of this year's draft. He was a late call-up. He got the phone call yesterday and jumped on the plane and arrived this morning. Look, he's an outstanding young prospect. He's balanced, he's smooth, he's got great poise when he comes off half-back. And a fantastic combination of speed and endurance.
We love a slider too, so we'll keep an eye out. Who hasn't gone? Someone that we've had ranked highly that's still yet to be called out. We'll keep you up to date with that.
And importantly, as you mentioned, Jono, as the players are drafted, they will drop off that list, so you will always see the highest ranked remaining player in the draft at the top of the list. So let's hope we get somewhere near the player rankings the way we've gone through them all. We need to take a quick break. The start of the draft is not far away as we go to the break. A quick look at the man that was number 2 on the Fox Footy rankings. He was born in Canada, a young man by the name of Andrew McGrath.
When I was 5, my whole family moved from Canada to Australia for Dad's work. We were originally meant to stay for 3 years, but that sort of blew out to about 13 now and counting, so we've loved it.
Sandringham are premiers for 2016.
It was probably as a coping mechanism in primary school. I think everyone was playing footy, and if you were good at footy and you could play footy, you sort of fit in with everyone, so that's probably where I got the motivation to learn how to play, and then from there I loved it ever since. I call Australia my home now, but it is a bit tough with all my family being back in Canada.
It doesn't get more picturesque than that. The magnificent Sydney Harbour in a stunning day in Sydney as we prepare to get the 2016 NAB AFL Draft underway. We welcome up to the panel the AFL's international and national talent manager, Kevin Sheehan. Before we get into the draft, Kevin, we need to get your opinion on who's going to go number 1, please.
It's got to be a Mac. I've got to sit in the fence, McCluggage and McGrath. You can't split them. The 2 best performed players of the year. Their intangibles are fantastic as well. They're great leaders. So I think they're 200-game players, so Essendon cannot lose.
Well, we know that Michael Abbott thought that Hugh McCluggage was a clear standout. Jono?
I said McGrath to start with.
McGrath and Kane?
Yeah, I think McGrath, and then interesting to see what the Giants do at pick 2 and whether McCluggage slips to pick 3, and the Brisbane Lions will be pretty happy, I'd imagine, Shifter.
Well, they're going to be happy with any of the players in the top 10 because they're well performed. They're a midfield group. They're ready to run as well.
All right, it's time to get the 2016 NAB AFL Draft underway. Our host this evening is Anthony Hudson, and Hutto, the wait is finally over.
Yes, thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 2016 AFL NAB Draft live on Fox Footy. What a big night it is ahead. You can feel the excitement, the anticipation, the nerves in the room, but a lot of dreams are going to come true tonight. Well, it's time to welcome the CEO of the AFL, Gillon McLachlan, to the stage, and Gillon will be announcing the picks in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sydney for the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. And welcome to everyone at home watching on Fox Footy and on afl.com.au or listening via one of our many radio partners. Before I start, I'd like to send our thoughts to Chris and Brad Scott and the broader Scott family on the loss of Ben, younger brother, son and father. the whole game is sending our best wishes during this very tough time. It's a big night for the game, for the clubs and for our supporters. But most of all, it's a very big night for the young men here in the audience or at home watching with their families, waiting and hoping to have their name called and to start their careers as an AFL footballer. On behalf of the AFL, I'd like to extend our gratitude to the New South Wales Premier, Mike Baird, to the Minister for Trade, Tourism and Major Events, Stuart Ayres, and the Chief Executive of Destination New South Wales, Sandra Chipchase. Thank you for helping us bring the 31st NAB AFL Draft to Sydney. I'd also like to thank NAB, a long-term partner of the AFL and a supporter of so many of our programs, from Auskick all the way through our talent pathways to the NAB AFL Draft. NAB is represented here tonight by Joe Gilbert, Portfolio Manager, NAB Group Sponsorship. Thank you, Joe, for being here. And welcome to our officials from our 18 clubs, many of whom have put in almost as many hours preparing for tonight as our young draftees. This is the first time we've come together as an industry since the Toyota AFL Grand Final, and I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Luke Beveridge and the Western Bulldogs for winning the club's second ever premiership. It was 60... Yeah, congratulations. It was 62 years in the making, worth the wait, a thrilling grand final that delighted and rewarded your loyal fans. I'd also like to pay tribute to our runners-up, the incredible football club, the Sydney Swans, and to the 6 other finalists. You all delivered compelling football. It was an epic final series, our highest rating ever. Finally, to Chris Fagan at the Brisbane Lions and Simon Goodwin at Melbourne, congratulations on joining the ranks of our senior coaches, and I wish you luck tonight. Now it is my job to take you through the rules of the draft. Anthony Hudson will call out the draft selection number and the name of the club according to the draft order. Each club will have 2 minutes to electronically submit their selection for approval by the AFL administration team. If requested, an extra 2 minutes will be granted. All clubs must make a minimum of 3 selections, which can include a promoted rookie. I note that 20 players have been promoted from clubs' rookie lists already, and these players will not be read out tonight. If another club bids for a father-son or academy nominee, the club which nominated that player will have the opportunity to match the bid. The draft order may change if a club is successful in matching a bid for a nominated academy or father-son player, as doing so may include the use of more than one draft selection. And once a club passes on a selection, it is excluded from further involvement in the draft. Before I hand back to Hutto, I'd like to wish the players here tonight and waiting nervously at home around the country the very best of luck. The NAB AFL Draft represents a significant milestone for all of you. It is hopefully the end of your adolescence and your entry into the adult phase of your football career. The expectations will be bigger than you anticipate. The training will be harder than you could have imagined. And you will not get away with what you have got away with in the past. And while the demands are greater, so are the rewards. You can become part of something very big. Bigger than your own achievements. Bigger even than your club. You become part of a game that lives in the hearts of so many people around Australia. You will carry that responsibility. So be humble, work hard, and represent our code well. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, Gillen. We're going to be celebrating each of the top 10 picks individually tonight. So as such, as soon as each pick is announced, the next club is automatically on the clock. And before we get underway, let's take a look and meet some of the class of 2016.
I think just one-on-one, my ball-winning ability is probably my greatest strength.
I probably like playing football the most because of the enjoyment you get playing with your mates every week, and I guess the thrill of winning, or I guess the heartbreak of losing and bouncing back from it.
I love competing against other people and competing for a win and for the same footy. My greatest strength is probably just create a bit of time and space and help get myself into space and also others.
This guy's all class. Marshall on a long lead. Oh, in front. He's a serious talent.
Probably was a bit iffy at the start of the season if I was good enough, and after champs I do want this as a career and yeah, probably just become more driven.
He's certainly on the radar of a lot of recruiters.
My favourite part of footy is playing with your mates and going out there every weekend and just competing and going home at the end of the day with a win or a loss. I guess I just love the game. I love everything about it.
So fun playing with all your mates over the course of been playing since I was 4 in Auskick, so to be able to play with all your mates in a team is pretty good.
Just love the team environment, really. Waking up every day and just being able to spend time with my mates and work hard and then go home and just obviously make some lifelong friendships on the way.
Well, good luck to all our potential draftees tonight. Let's get underway. Pick number 1, the Essendon Football Club, are on the clock.
Okay, so 2 minutes for the Bombers to make a selection, one that's carried plenty of debate in the lead up here. Kevin, you just refuse to get off the fence, but you would think they don't need the 2 minutes. Surely the decision is already made.
And it would have been well debated. You'll see the group there that would have spent the last number of weeks trying to dissect particularly the two players we've talked about. Adrian Dodoro overseeing it, Merv Kane, their national recruiting manager, John Worsfold, of course, having a say. Let's see what they're doing.
All right, the pick is in. Let's go back to Gillan McLaughlin.
Pick number 1 in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft, playing for the Essendon Football Club, we Andrew McGrath, the Sandringham Dragons.
Congratulations, Andrew, a proven big game player, ready to make his mark in this AFL competition, a former 400-metre national hurdles champion, just a small part of what makes this young man one of the country's hottest prospects. His 2016 season was full of big game performances, leading the Sandringham Dragons to a TAC Cup premiership success with a best on-ground performance, averaging 32 disposals and 7 clearances in the TAC Cup, claimed all Australian honours at the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships, possessing all-around athletic profile rarely seen before, a hard-running, rebounding defender with the ability to push through the midfield. Andrew rarely wastes a possession.
Well, let's welcome to the stage the senior coach of the Essendon Football Club, John Worsfold, and with him the number 1 draft pick for 2016, Andrew McGrath. Well, congratulations, Andrew, and well done, John. Good luck with Andrew. I'm sure he'll bring you a lot of success. Well done, mate. Jump in here. Well, there's been a lot of speculation. Would it be you or Hugh? Now it is you. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's a surreal feeling, I guess. No one really knew up until none of us even knew that.
When did you get an inkling before?
Not at all. Adrian sent 3 of us a text before saying we can't give anything away, but you'll find out when everyone else finds out. So, yeah, it's an exciting feeling, and I can't wait to hear some of the other boys read out.
It's been a lot made of being born in Canada. It's an amazing journey in a way, and I guess it's being received back in Canada as well with a lot of excitement by your family.
Yeah, they don't know a whole lot about footy back home, but I think Dad's Twitter account and Facebook account is heavily watched by all them back at home, and he keeps them posted.
And what's it feel like, the thought now of being a Bomber?
It's awesome. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for anything more. It's so exciting, and I can't wait to get started.
Well, it is an exciting time for you. Well done, and your family, and enjoy it, celebrate it tonight, and then the hard work starts.
Thank you very much.
Andrew McGrath, everyone. He is the number 1 draft pick in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft.
No great surprises with the Bombers picking Andrew McGrath. He was in virtually every discussion. He was in the top couple of picks, and I don't think anyone's surprised, are they?
Oh, it's a great achievement from Andrew. Well done to Essendon. You've got a young man who is ready to go. I think he'll have an impact from minute one.
Well, the GWS Giants have pick number 2. It is already locked away. Back to you, Gillen.
With pick 2, the GWS Giants have chosen Tim Taranto from the Sandringham Dragons.
Sandringham Dragons pick 1 and 2 in the 2016 NAB AFL National Draft. Tim Taranto brings class and versatility. If you're going to judge a player on his ability in big moments, look no further. A footballer that plays taller than his 185 centimetres suggests, strong overhead with great marking ability and smoothness at ground level. He causes opposition defence headaches in finding the right matchup. A 2016 full of highlights, the NAB AFL Under-18 Championship All-Australian honours, best on ground in the NAB AFL All-Stars match, premiership success with the Sandringham Dragons. This super young talent is ready for the big time.
And let's welcome to the stage the coach of GWS Giants from Greater Western Sydney, Leon Cameron, and Tim Taranto, the number 2 draft pick in 2016. Congratulations, Tim, and well done to Leon. What a great name it's going to be for the commentators too. Tim Taranto joining the Giants for 2017.
That's a very interesting selection from the GWS Giants. I think he was always mentioned as a top 5 selection, but it wasn't until the last few days that his name started to get mentioned more and more, Jono.
Yeah, well, that's right. And look, a little bit to do with him through the NAB AFL Academy this year, and just class. You see in all his vision, he's got a great step, able to push forward, and I love the way he just breaks 50 and always nails those opportunities.
Good club to land at, Jono. We think they'll be around about the mark grand final day next year. He could be a part of that.
I reckon there's exciting times ahead for the Brisbane Lions, who have pick 3. They're ready to go. Gillen?
With pick 3, the Brisbane Lions have chosen Hugh McCluggage from the North Ballarat Rebels.
With Hugh, class is the first word that comes to mind when describing this young man. A genuine goal-kicking midfielder that continues to impress and stand up in big games. His 18 disposals and 4 goals in the NAB All-Stars match was no exception. A humble young man raised on a dairy farm in Allansford, Victoria, the bright lights have only brought out the best in him. Season 2016 has been nothing short of spectacular. 25 goals in 12 TAC Cup matches for North Ballarat, All-Australian honours at the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. A member of the NAB AFL Academy, Hugh has taken on all-comers and beaten them.
And let's welcome to the stage the senior coach of the Brisbane Lions, Chris Fagan, and with him, the number 3 pick, Hugh McCluggage. Exciting times ahead, and we wish Hugh all the best. And also, of course, Chris in his first year as coach with the Brisbane Lions. The number 3 pick, Hugh McCluggage, and the Lions coach, Chris Fagan.
A great pick-up for the Brisbane Lions, a young man that a number of people thought might have been the number 1 pick, Shifter.
Yeah, and Chris Fagan won't be able to believe his luck, but he's fallen through to 3, the best performed player of the year, so creative out of the centre of the ground and a goal kicker to boot.
Now things get interesting. Gold Coast have 4 picks inside the top 10. Their first is at pick 4, Gillen. Who is it?
Pick 4, the Gold Coast Suns have picked Ben Ainsworth from the Gippsland Power Morwell Youth Club.
Well, Rocket will love coaching this young man, a genuine match winner and the most elite medium forward on offer. Ben has the ability to turn a game on its head in a matter of minutes. His innate ability to sense where the goals are, coupled with an elite vertical jump and overhead marking ability, makes him one of the most dangerous opponents for an opposition defence. After claiming All-Australian honours as a 17-year-old, expectations were high, and it was only a matter of time before he rose to the occasion, kicking 3 goals in a quarter for Vic Country at Simmons Stadium, certain to add to the AFL highlights in 2017.
And let's welcome the coach of the Gold Coast Suns, Rodney Eade. And with him, a new son, Ben Ainsworth. Congratulations to Ben and to Rodney Eade, the coach of the Gold Coast Suns.
All right, now the fun starts because we have had the first academy player bid put in. Chief, you might want to explain this to us. Carlton have picked number 5.
Yeah, so they've set the bar. They're saying that that Will Setterfield is a pick 5 rather, and so that the Giants have to match that. Match it with points. Upgrade to take them at that point. They'll have a few minutes, an extra 2 minutes to think about it. I don't think they'll think about it for too long.
So what happens is it'll cost them pick 15 and 37, but that gets them up to pick 5 to get Setterfield, and then they drop back to pick 64. Fair deal?
I think it's a fair deal. This guy's a graceful mover, a lovely, taller midfielder, can play on the inside or the outside, and he's a boy from Albury, of course.
All right, let's go back to Gillan McLaughlin for the outcome of pick number 5.
With pick 5, the GWS Giants have matched the Carlton bid and picked Will Setterfield, Academy nominee GWS Giants and Sandringham Dragons.
Will is a classy, free-flowing player with the ability to cut opposition teams up with his run through the midfield of the ground. Will provides the Giants with genuine class and another avenue to goal. His ability to mix it with the best, both on the inside and the outside, allows this hard-running midfielder to showcase his versatility under any circumstance. After an injury-riddled and frustrating 18 months, his character shone through brightly with a standout performance against the Northern Territory in the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships, where he amassed 28 disposals and 6 tackles. The best of this young NAB AFL Academy star is yet to come.
Returning to the stage is the senior coach of the Giants, Leon Cameron, and with him his new player, Will Setterfield. Exciting times ahead for the Giants, and congratulations again to Will and to Leon Cameron from the Giants.
Will Setterfield, a very highly rated academy player, and no great surprise to see GWS jump in and say, yes, we'll have him. And that was the reason they traded up to get pick 2, so they could get a very good early player plus Will Setterfield, wasn't it?
And that's right, they get the discount for that as well to get those points up. Lose the picks we mentioned, 15 and 37, but you put the work into these young men. When there's qualities there, you're always going to grab it.
Yeah, I get a feeling the Giants are going to be a real winner out of this top 10, Jace.
That means Carlton now go back to pick 6. That pick is in and it's back to Gillan.
With pick 6, the Carlton Football Club has picked Sam Petreski-Seaton, Claremont Football Club.
What a star, and when it comes to accolades, there aren't many that Sam hasn't claimed during his climb through the ranks of the talent pathway. 2013 Mark Browning medalist as the NAB AFL Under-16 champion. 2014 Kevin Sheehan medalist for the Division 1 NAB AFL Under-16 Best and Fairest, and the NAB AFL Under-18 All-Australian honours as a 17-year-old. He doesn't stop there for WA's most promising talent. He made his senior debut at league level for Claremont as a 16-year-old. His ability to win a game off his own boot has been rivaled by few in recent years.
And the coach of Carlton, of course, is Brendan Bolton, and he's joined on the stage by his new young charge, Sam Petreski-Seaton. Plenty of smiles for Blues fans. And again, congratulations to Sam and to Brendan Bolton from the Blues.
Got a feeling that Blues fans are starting to feel good about themselves. They like what they saw under Brendan Bolton last year. Now they see a player like Sam Petreski-Seaton come into the mix. And Jono, early on, the Sandringham Dragons are providing a lot of talent.
They're going well so far, aren't they, the Dragons? I'll tell you what, with that last selection, Jack Silvani will love leading towards that man right there in Sam Petreski-Seaton.
All right, things rolling along quickly. The next pick, number 7, is in. Gillan.
Pick 7, Gold Coast Suns have chosen Jack Scrimshaw from the Sandringham Dragons.
Well, the Dragons are dominating the top 10 in the draft so far, blessed with an impressive and silky left foot kick. Jack has an exceptional lateral movement and counter-attack with precision from defence. Versatile and exceptionally talented, he has often been thrown forward when his team needed a spark, and on the majority of occasions, he answered the call. Premiership success with the Dragons was a fitting finale for this NAB AFL Academy graduate from 2016.
The coach of the Suns, Rodney Eade, returns to the stage, and with him, Jack Scrimshaw. Yes, Rodney already giving him instructions. Congratulations to pick 7, Jack Scrimshaw. He'll be coached, of course, by Rocket Eade.
You mentioned it, Jono, the Sandringham Dragons won the flag, and isn't that form being frank? It's their top 10, effectively. They are flying.
He's absolutely brilliant. And that last vision there with Jacket and Rocket, once he's grabbed him around the shoulders to start. Once he grabs him on the forearm, then he's got a couple of things to worry about.
All right, so the Fremantle Dockers have now dropped into the pick number 8 slot, and Gillen, the pick is in.
Yes, Jace. With pick 8, Freo Dockers have chosen Griffin Logue from the Swan Districts Football Club.
A powerfully built player, Griffin Logue is destined to impact at AFL level immediately. His 8 league games for Swan Districts in season 2016 indicated he was mature but beyond his years. Whether it's been drifting across half-back in likeness to a young Josh Gibson or pushing through the midfield, accumulating an abundance of possessions, Freo are certainly not going to be short of options. Coming from an elite rowing background, his willingness to push himself to the limit and find another level was clearly evident with his display of pure gut running recorded an elite 9-minute 58-second 3-kilometre time trial at this year's NAB AFL Combine. 33 disposal effort playing at Colts level in round 23 for the Waffle was his standout performance.
And joining us now on the stage is the Fremantle coach, Ross Lyon. And joining him is his new charge, Griffin Logue. Exciting times ahead, getting a WA boy. Congratulations to Griffin and to Ross Lyon.
I think that is an important thing to note. Often interstate clubs can struggle to keep players that get homesick, but to get a local boy, I think that's pretty important for the Fremantle Dockers.
Oh, they've gone that way, yeah, they've lost a few the other way, and this guy's an awesome physical specimen. He's ready to run. 191 centimetre key position player that can play midfield. They'll be very happy with that choice.
The third of the Gold Coast Suns early picks is in. That's pick number 9, Gillen.
Yes, Jace. With pick 9, the Gold Coast Suns have chosen Will Brodie from the Murray Bush Rangers.
Hard, resilient and ready for the AFL, Will is a clearance specialist. Collected 21 disposals, including 7 inside 50s in a best-on-ground display for the NAB AFL Academy against a Werribee team stacked with AFL-listed talent, and he proved the MCG held no fears for him. A driven individual that demands the best of himself.
Very exciting night ahead for the Suns, that's for sure. Congratulations to Will and once again to Rodney Eade.
All right, and for the second time tonight, an Academy player has been bid upon. So it's Sydney's pick and they've gone for Jack Bowes, the Gold Coast Academy player.
Yeah, and we'd expect the Gold Coast to match that. Loving what the Gold Coast have done already. They've got the powerful small forward in Ainsworth, a versatile defender in Scrimshaw, and that midfielder, Will Brodie, just to replace the likes of O'Meara and Prestia.
It's not a tough equation, Kane. Instead of taking pick 11, we'll go to pick 10.
There you go.
Let's go back to Gil for the decision.
Pick 10 has been matched by the Gold Coast Suns. Jack Bowles, Gold Coast Academy and the Surfers Paradise Football Club.
The Gold Coast Suns have produced, and I don't say this lightly, a Rolls Royce in Jack Bowes, a prime mover that puts the game into slow motion through the time he possesses when the ball is in his hands. Jack has the ability to punish opposition teams by foot, especially when delivering the ball inside forward 50. Winner of the Harrison Medal for the player adjudged best and fairest in the Division 2 NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. Jack continued his stellar season, earning All-Australian honours, playing for the Allies. Originally from Cairns in northern Queensland, his competitiveness and desire to apply defensive pressure is benefiting of someone that grew up in a traditional rugby league stronghold, a mature young man that takes everything in his stride.
Oh, you can't wipe the smile off Rodney Eade's face right now, because what a bunch of young potential stars he has. A big night for the Gold Coast Suns. Jack Bowes, of course, joining the Suns at pick 10. A very popular selection, particularly with the family here tonight. Well done to Jack and well done to Rodney Eade, a collection of young talent for the Gold Coast Suns tonight.
Yes, a terrific start in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft for the Gold Coast Suns. But if you're a supporter of any of those clubs that have had a top 10 selection, you have to get excited when you see this sort of talent coming through, don't you?
Oh, I'm excited, I tell you, from the point of view of 4 states represented already, to see Queensland, New South Wales, as well as Victoria and WA having representatives in the top 10 in Australia for AFL footy. I reckon that's brilliant for the game.
And these are the type of players, Kane, that could be 10 or 12-year players for their clubs.
Well, the majority will be, and it's critical. It looks as though we sit here and we think they got it right. There's some absolute guns, just looking at their highlights. It's easy to get excited if you're a supporter of one of those clubs.
You're always excited, Jono. Was there any selection in there that really stood out for you?
No, not really. I think the McGrath selection straight up, which I did pick, Jason, was spot on, of course. But no, look, seriously, across the board, Taranto, I think, is the one that will, from me, looking at that top 10, may have the biggest impact early.
Kane, we spoke how important it was for the Gold Coast Suns to get it right, with 4 picks inside the top 10. Have they got it right?
It looks that way. 2 genuine midfielders to replace the ones they've lost. A versatile defender who's 194 centimetres with a beautiful left foot kick, and a powerful small forward in Ainsworth that looks to be on the highlight reels of the Gold Coast Suns for a long, long time.
How hard is it, Jono, to weigh up whether you take the type of player your club needs as opposed to the best player, particularly in those early picks? It's almost a case of got to take the best player, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that, but it really depends on where you're at as a football club as well, what part of the ladder you're on, where your growth is going to come from, whether it's coming from the trades, and then you might be able to speculate with that first pick a little bit more because you might have some serious trade ability or trade talent that you've brought into your football club. Clubs at the moment that are down the bottom, they want to draft the best, and we're seeing that at the moment.
Let's head back on stage. Anthony Hudson has the top 10 in the class of 2016.
Please join me in welcoming back to the stage the top 10 draft picks in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. Going at number 1, Andrew McGrath to Essendon. At number 2, Tim Taranto to the Giants. At number 3, Hugh McCluggage to the Lions. At 4, Ben Ainsworth to the Suns. Number 5, Will Setterfield to the Giants. At number 6, Sam Petrevski-Seaton to the Blues. Sam Scrimshaw to the Suns at 7. At 8, Griffin Logue to Fremantle. And at 9 and 10 to the Gold Coast Suns, Will Brodie and Jack Bowes. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the names of the future. Put your hands together once again for the 2016 NAB AFL Draft Top 10.
Good call, Hutto. That's what the future of the AFL looks like. It's in the hands of those young men and plenty more that are going to get named tonight. Were there any surprises in the top 10 in terms of someone a bit higher than you thought or a bit lower than you thought, or someone that you thought was top 10 that didn't quite get in there?
I think Tim Taranto, no doubt's the big mover in the last 6 weeks of the year. Dominated that grand final, dominated the All-Star game, and rocketed right into the second selection of the draft. So he's the big mover.
The other one as well that I suppose hasn't been called out yet, we will see it, is Tim English. There was a bit of word around that he might have gone in the top 10, 205 centimetres. The best ruckman around, not to be called out as yet, but you keep going back to what the Gold Coast Suns have been able to produce there. And Ben Ainsworth, brilliant. He'll replace Green, who's now left the Brisbane Lions. Sorry, Hugh McClugg's replaced him. Ben Ainsworth is the other one now that goes in and has a huge impact for Gold Coast.
Ready to keep rolling along. Sydney have pick 11, and they're ready to go. Gillen.
Pick 11, the Sydney Swans have chosen Oliver Florent from the Sandringham Dragons.
Well, popular selection, I think, Oliver Florent, and another Sandringham Dragons player, Jono.
What about this
It's
year?
Extraordinary.
Win the TAC Cup Grand Final and look what can happen, because you've got serious talent around you, and it's been produced 4 players so far now in the top 11.
So what have the Sydney Swans got, Shifter?
Well, they've got a guy with breakaway pace, an absolute star in the All-Star game again. 29 disposals in Timo Lachlan in that game the day before the grand final. He played well in the Sandringham Dragons final the week before and just topped his year off with a brilliant display, and he'll run all day, a 15 beeper, so he'll break lines with that speed. He uses the ball so well by foot, and what a great moment it is for Oliver Florent.
Swans probably exposed a little bit on the outside in those 2 finals that they lost this year, especially in the grand final by the Dogs. So to hear that he's got speed, no surprise they've selected him.
Well, the early picks, the clubs aren't needing the 2 minutes to make the decision. We're up to pick 12. It's North Melbourne and Gillen. It's locked in.
With pick 12, Jace, the North Melbourne Football Club has chosen Jai Simpkin from the Murray Bushrangers.
Jai Simpkin, what can you tell us about him, please, Shifter?
He's a nimble will-o'-the-wisp. He's the boy with the dancing feet. He'll slip through them. He broke his leg early in the year, overcome adversity to come back. He could have been a top 10 if this draft was in the middle of the year. So they've got an absolute beauty, this boy from up in the Murray Bushrangers area.
Probably the type of player that North Melbourne desperately need, Kane.
Yeah, well, they've lost so much class and skill, especially delivering the ball inside 50 with Wells, Del Santo, Harvey no longer there. So perfect replacement for him. Hopefully he's recovered beautifully from the broken leg. He's a beautiful young man, and they've got a good one.
What he adds as well is that defensive pressure, especially in that forward line. So look for him to lay some big tackles when he gets his opportunity.
Are you suggesting some of the others don't add defensive pressure, Jono?
Not as much as I think some of the coaches would like, Jason.
It's a great trade to have. The West Coast Eagles have pick number 13, and it is locked.
With pick 13, the West Coast Eagles have chosen Daniel Venables from the Western Jets.
Daniel Venables, Shifter.
He's got the first for the contest. That's what a coach would love to hear about his player. Just loves it in tight. And he's a son of a great-grandson of a Hall of Famer from North Melbourne and from the AFL in Johnny Lewis, a star nearly 100 years ago in the game. So best on bloodlines is Daniel Venables.
Well, you said the first for the contest. His stats in terms of contested possessions and tackles, right up there.
Not bad to learn from Sammy Mitchell up there also. Not a bad introduction to AFL footy and learning how to play in the midfield.
And what you're seeing with these top draft picks, the top 20 in particular, what you'll see is that consistency across contested ball. They get a good mix of good contested work, uncontested work as well. I think that's where their standout performances come from.
All right, another bid pending. The Adelaide Crows have pick 14, and let's have a look what it's going to cost them. Harry Perryman, you see thereafter. So for GWS to match it, it's going to cost them picks 14, 57 and 96, and that will drop them down. They lose picks 38, 44 and 51 to get pick 14, to pick him up, and then they drop to 57 and 96.
That's right. So Harry Perryman, a defender. Look, he's got some class about him, this young man, so we wait and see whether or not GWS match that bid.
He's a boy from the Riverina, the heart of their academy zone now, a boy from Colin Gully. And he's a natural footballer. You love to see those boys that just have got what we call the footy smarts. Read the play beautifully, use the ball well by hand and foot, strong overhead, no faults with this boy. They'll match the bid, I think.
Well, let's go back to Gil to see if that bid has been matched.
With pick 14, the GWS Giants have matched the bid for Harry Perryman from the GWS Academy and the Colin Gully Football Club.
No great surprise, as you thought. You were very confident saying they would match that bid.
And you know what, Jason, the country boy, and the one thing that everyone knows, hard as nails, of course. So look forward to seeing how he goes, especially around the ball. He's going to learn a fair bit from some of the hard nuts already on that list.
Yeah, Adelaide will go again, and Will Hayward's still on the board, the best rated South Australian, probably shifter. So interesting to see if the Adelaide Crows go for a hometown boy.
All right, well, the pick is in. We're about to find out. Kane, let's go to Adelaide's first pick.
With pick 15, the Adelaide Football Club has chosen Jordan Gallucci from the Eastern Rangers Football Club.
Shifter, one of your favourite players.
Oh, yes, he set the
You're a big
all-time record in our vertical jump at our combine, so it's super first-choice athlete. Love his versatility. Play back, mid or forward. Love his leadership as well. He was co-captain with Andy McGrath of the Vic Metro side in the National Championship. He's a contested ball winner, wins his own footy out of the centre clearances.
Easton Wood had the biggest quads I've ever seen on a young man being drafted. This man's got him covered. Don't worry about that. With his power through his legs, it is phenomenal.
Yeah, he won't live that down, but good pick by Adelaide. Missed out on Bryce Gibbs, lost Jared Lyons, so another player through the midfield is exactly what they needed.
It's interesting with each of these academy bids, everyone drops down one in the pecking order. That means Port Adelaide have the next pick, Gillen.
With pick 16, the Port Adelaide Football Club has chosen Todd Marshall from the Murray Bush Rangers.
What can you tell us about Todd Marshall?
Well, the surprise packet of the year. This time last year was unknown in terms of AFL scouting. He'd played cricket in England with school for New South Wales, focused on footy early this year, and he did surprise straight away at 198-centimetre key forward. The clubs couldn't believe it. He ended up in the open draft, was ruled not to be eligible for the Giants Academy, and so the clubs were pleased with that. And this boy's got enormous potential as a key forward. He's quick and athletic and brave. Needs to develop physically, put on another 8 or 10 kilos, but he's got all of the tools to be a marking forward.
Probably no surprises when you look at it, Jace, with Charlie Dixon, probably the only real key forward on Port Adelaide's list. Justin Westhoff plays a role. They've got some young players in Dougal Howard there and Billy Frampton, but to get him potentially the best key position player in the draft at the pick they got him, it's not a bad pick.
I think it's great as well because this young man has Charlie Dixon, who we've mentioned, to learn off over the next 12 months in particular. Yes, he's got to put a bit of size on. He averages 5 marks a game, 1 contested. So throw him straight in there against Charlie and get him to teach him what to do effectively.
The next pick is in as well. It's pick number 17 for the Brisbane Lions.
With pick 17, the Brisbane Lions have chosen Jared Berry from the North Ballarat Rebels.
Jared Berry, Jono.
Oh, I love this guy, really do. He has got the ability to push into the midfield as well, Jared Berry. He's got an extremely high work rate as well, can go back or forward at times. But I think in the end, Brisbane may have in their mind that they may be able to push him into the midfield as he develops and as he gets stronger and learns the craft of that really strong stoppage work that's needed.
Good time to be a Brisbane Lion, a real clean out, almost a rebuild with all the young talent that they've got coming through. So exciting time to go up to Brisbane and try and turn the footy club around.
You'll be very interested in the next selection, Kane. It's the Port Adelaide Football Club with pick number 18.
With pick 18, the Port Adelaide Football Club have chosen Sam Powell-Pepper from East Perth Football Club.
Well, I hope you can tell me a bit about this young man, please, Kevin.
Tell you what they've got, a player that plays with passion. The way he tacks the ball, he tacks it like a bull. He's so aggressive and hard-working. He'll come off half-back. He'll win contested ball in the midfield. He can go forward and kick goals as well. He's the last man standing at just about every beep test I watched this year. Just outstanding work rate, a leader as well, this Indigenous boy from the West, and he'll give them heart.
Hard and straight, combination with Ollie Wines, it's going to be brilliant.
Well, sounds like just a player Ken Hinkley would love to get, and the thing that stands out to me, just looking at his size, 187 centimetres, 90 kilos, so you'd think that he goes straight in, has an impact and plays footy next year.
And what also we saw in the scout profile was a very high kicking efficiency. Extremely important for these first-round picks.
And that's something that Port Adelaide were on record as saying that they were going to identify through this draft. It's been a weakness of theirs, especially last year. So to get him in, his ability to come in, win the contest, as Shifter said, looks like a great pick.
That brings us to pick number 19, and it's the reigning premier, the Western Bulldogs.
With pick 19, the Western Bulldogs have chosen Tim English from the South Fremantle Football Club.
Jono, this is the young man you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it is. And look, the Bulldogs over the last few years have drafted some smaller type players, but they've all had an impact. They've gone for height with their first pick now. Obviously in the grand final, Roughhead and Boyd were a fantastic combination in the ruck. In the future though, you think Roughhead will be able to hold that down. Tim will push for taking that mantle off him, but that combination may allow Boyd to play more forward in the future.
And probably the club that can afford him some time to develop. We know how strong the Bulldogs list is and how much depth they've got through it. So if he needs 2 or 3 years to develop, well, the Bulldogs are one club that can certainly allow him to do that.
So that rounds out round 1 of the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. Let's have a look at picks 11 through to 18. We had a good look at the top 10 after they were chosen. What do you like about picks 11 through 18 that we're going to see in just a moment? And were there any real surprises that might stick out?
We're starting to see the taller players come through. Just a couple there in Marshall and English. The bigger players around the 198 to 205. But generally, just 4 of the top 19 are taller players. This is a midfield 15, if you like. And they're the players ready to run. But they can play games early next year and have an impact on the competition.
Is that also a reflection of the fact that those bigger players normally take 2, 3, 4 years to develop? So the higher picks that clubs are looking to have an immediate impact with their choices.
Well, it can just be the pool available. We think in looking at next year, it will be the tall forward, the tall defender type draft. There's 11 in the National Academy already that are over 194 centimetres for next year. I think it's just turned out to be the pool of the midfielders this year.
All right, a quick break here on Fox Footy before we get into round 2. And if you're a supporter of the Saints, the Cats, the Tigers or the Pies, you'll be making your mark on the other side of the break. Welcome back to the 2016 NAB AFL Draft from the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney. The first round selections have been completed, and whilst they may carry a little more fanfare than the rest of the selections, they are no more important as clubs try to build a talent pool for what they're going to display over the next 5 to 10 years. Round 2 about to get underway. On stage, the CEO of the AFL, Gil McLachlan, has been joined by Mark Evans, the General Manager of Operations, and Andrew Dillon, the General Manager of Legal, Compliance and Integrity. And we head to our commentary team, headed by Sarah Jones, with her Michael Ablett and also Kevin Chan.
Thanks very much, Jace. Pick 19, the Sydney Swans, the beaten grand finalists. It's done a fair bit of travelling this pick. Originally with Brisbane, went to Port as part of the Hanley deal, and then from Port to Sydney in a pick exchange. So we're going to see plenty of that tonight, picks that have done the rounds.
Yeah, we certainly are, Sarah. There's been some big surprises. I think we expected that coming here tonight. A little bit unsure of what the order was going to look like, but still some great players on the table. Will Hayward, for mine, is the one that's still on the table we would have expected to go in the first round.
How much contact, Kevin, do the clubs have with the players before the draft? Obviously, the top ones seem to be chatting quite a bit, but as you move further down the order, how much face-to-face interview time are they having with these young men?
Sarah, they might have had half a dozen interviews in the second half of the year as clubs start to sort of zero in on their spot in the draft order and on the type of player that they may want. So it could be as many as that. Even in the last week or so, there are interviews, so clubs can consistently double-check their work.
Mick, we've got a bid pending here.
Yeah, we have, and this is the one that we expected to come a little bit earlier, Sarah, so might get the opportunity to stay in New South Wales in another jumper.
And we can see there the equation in terms of what you win and what you lose. The Academy's proving so fruitful for the Northern States.
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing an outstanding job. Darren Denneman, Ty Kennelly, some of the guys involved with the New South Wales ACT talent program, they just get better and better each year. So it's hardly surprising that we're seeing so much talent out of that particular market early in the draft.
How crucial are they to the growth of the game?
Absolutely critical. No doubt about that. We've made significant ground in these markets over the last couple of years.
With pick 20, the GWS Giants have matched the Sydney bid for Isaac Cumming from the Giants Academy.
And this is the boy, of course, from Broken Hill. Fantastic to see, as we mentioned earlier, Sarah, about the spots that are hot spots for talent around Australia includes places like Broken Hill. This is Taylor Walker country, the star, the captain of the Adelaide Crows, of course, from Broken Hill. So the people of that area are wonderful football people. We've had Dean Solomon way back that has come out of Broken Hill as well. Some terrific players of those. Here's Isaac Cumming. He's a great user of the football. We heard Mick talk about him earlier. It's his breakaway pace, his ball use that separates him from others. And he's the journeyman. He's played everywhere this year, including in North Adelaide. He's played for New South Wales, the Allies, even had a game for the Giants in the NEFL.
With pick 21, the Sydney Swans have chosen Will Hayward from the North Adelaide Football Club.
Well, he's the one, Sarah, that I mentioned before. He reminds me a lot of James Sicily. He's absolute pack full of power. He's got the ability to kick goals from outside 50. He does it with ease. We were joking about it the other day. So great pickup for the Sydney Swans and someone that provides another dangerous target inside 50.
The Swans were able to debut 7 players in 2016, and we saw a lot of them have an impact throughout the final series. Guys like Hewitt, Papley, Mills, they were able to really bring on this young talent quickly.
Yeah, and it was interesting in the graphic when we spoke pre-draft about the Western Bulldogs having the most young players that have played games, the highest number of games. We hear about the gap all the time, that the gap's getting bigger and between the kids and the AFL, but that's proof enough for me that if the Premiers can do it with a young team, maybe the gap's not as big as what we initially thought.
So the Bombers are next. Of course, we saw them take Andy McGrath with pick number 1. So much speculation heading into tonight about what they would do. They kept their cards very close to their chest. Shifter, how difficult is that to do in recruiting circles to make sure that that secret doesn't get out?
Almost impossible. But good luck to them. It'd be 7 or 8 people at the club that would have known, and we heard McGrath say that he didn't know. He hadn't been tipped off. No one had been tipped off. A great work by Adrian Doro and his team there. Rob Foster Knight with him here on screen at the moment. They're obviously considering in some depth as to what they do with their next pick.
What are they debating here? Because they would have a plan of attack. Has something that's happened tonight perhaps caused some concern or some debate?
They'll have 80 players in order, no doubt about that. Every club does, but then they break them up into their positions. They might have the best tools available still, so they might be debating, is it next best player, or do we start looking for that key position prospect we might want?
Mick, we can see John Worsfold on screen there. How much input does he have into this decision? Does he throw it over to his gurus, his recruiting staff?
Yeah, as we see, time extension there, Sarah, requested from the Bombers and granted. Look, I've spoken to a number of clubs about this, and I think the ones that do it really well do give the senior coach some buy-in. Naturally, they've got to get his opinion. Having said that, you've got to lean on your recruiting guys, and you've got to put trust in those guys to make the right call. They're the one that watch them week in, week out. They go into their homes and interview them. They talk to teachers. So I think at the end of the day, it's got to be left with your national recruiting manager, but very, very important that the man that's charged with getting him to perform at his best on the weekend does have some input.
Well, we know the Bombers would like to get some more midfield polish into the club. We can see the Fox rankings there, the remaining midfielders from this draft pool.
And Bolton's the one with the pace, so he's probably more of a small forward with electrifying pace, whereas Graham, Clark, those sorts of boys are your ball winners in the midfield. Made their mind up.
The Essendon Football Club have chosen Jordan Ridley from the Oakley Chargers.
They've gone for the utility there, Sarah. A young man that's a beautiful size at 192 centimetres. He's just got a capacity to play in most areas of the ground. I think that's what they would have been looking for, the Bombers. It gives them another angle depending on where they've got the need.
And an excellent ball user too by hand and foot. Great decision maker, sets the play up. And at 192, as you mentioned, Mick, can play in a range of spots. So I think he's a great choice, this boy from the Oakley Chargers. Had a super year this year.
Our Fox Footy team had him ranked at number 60, so a little bit of a discrepancy there. But as you say, at number 22, a great pickup for the Bombers. Next up, the Brisbane Lions. And we've spoken at length about how crucial tonight could be for setting up their next decade.
Yeah, I think it's a huge night for the state of Queensland. So obviously the Gold Coast Suns now out of the draft. They can relax, and it's over to the Brisbane Lions. It is crucial. It is important. They've got a breath of fresh air coming in Chris Fagan to take over the reins, and they're going to get a fantastic group of young talent. We see there Human Cluggage and Jared Berry, a couple of North Ballarat teammates. They'll probably be pretty happy to be travelling up north into the Sunshine State with each other. So you mentioned Jordan Ridley before. Look, I just think that goes to the evenness of this year's draft.
Brisbane Lions have chosen Alex Witherden from the Geelong Falcons.
That's another boy that's overcome adversity, like Simpkin that was taken earlier, had a broken leg earlier. This boy could have been a top 10 as the season started. A boy that looks so natural coming off the half-back flank for the Geelong Falcons. He's also in the National Academy. He played in the representative games early in the year for the Academy and impressed. But he's also played midfield. He's got a few strings to his bow. He's one of those boys that can find that space to step through the traffic and then straighten up and use the ball so well. So Alex Witherden, a very worthy draft choice there at choice number 23.
We go back to Florida, Kev, when we were over there with the NAB AFL Academy. The thing that really impressed me was his leadership. We're doing some match simulation type stuff. He was very hard on his teammates in a very respectful way, demanded the best out of them, and led really, really well, providing good direction.
We use lots of terms for that, but call it coachability too. So he'll take on information and learn very, very quickly as a young player. You want that. You want to see them improve when they get into your footy club. And he's a great listener and then puts those the listening skills into action with his deeds.
So interesting as we look at the remaining players here, guys. Josh Battle at the top of that list. So Brisbane to go again. Are they looking for that Jack Gunston type tall forward that can get up and cover the ground, play a little bit higher? He's got an exceptional endurance base, Josh Battle, or do they go for a midfielder? Are we looking at a Jack Graham, Dylan Clark type of player that may slot in there as well? Be very interesting, but not a bad spot to be at 23 and 24 with back-to-back picks.
And their time's been extended as well, so a little bit more thinking time here, Kevin, as they debate the pros and cons, I suppose, of players they've been watching, not just for 1 or 2 seasons, but maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, you look at a Jack Graham on the board there. He's the Lark medalist from the National Championship, so he dominated that competition. And inside mid gets his hands on the footy. They go for that mature body, ready to play. The call's about to come. Steve Knoll, you see, he is the National Recruiting Manager just in the foreground there of the Brisbane Lions. A guy that had overseen the development of the Oakley Chargers there in the TAC Cup. Great to see people progressing through the pathways now available for administrators, talent ID people to push into AFL clubs. David Noble, of course, formerly at the Adelaide Crows, now the Director of Football. They're up at the Lions with Chris Fagan. A new team working together now, trying to assemble or reassemble their list, and the experience of Peter Swab just to David Noble's left.
It's a real fresh feel to that group, isn't it? Both players and staff. Still having a pretty good discussion, but the boys look a little bit more relaxed, so I'm assuming a decision will not be too far away.
And as we wait for the announcement from the Brisbane Lions, I believe we've got a very special guest, Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate more than just the top 10 picks, we've got a very special guest announcer for selection 24. And in fact, when you look back in history, you have to say he's one of the best, if not the best, picks at that mark in any draft we've seen. Of course, he was picked at number 24 in 2001, recruited from Wangaratta, went on to play 13 great seasons with Geelong, 3 premierships, a Norm Smith medal winner. Of course, he's still plying his trade with the GWS Giants. That's when he's not getting himself injured in peculiar ways. Would you welcome Steve Johnson, please, to the stage? Stevie? Very well. Now, you're battling all sorts of injury to be with us tonight, so we appreciate you getting off your injury, your sick bed to join us. But I mentioned you were picked 24 back in what was coined the Super Draft of 2001. You couldn't possibly have imagined the journey that was ahead of you when you were picked as a young man.
No, probably not, Hutto. I was more relieved, more than anything, on draft night to get an opportunity. But I think when I got down to Geelong on the Monday after, I quickly realised that I had an opportunity to forge a career in the game that I loved, and pretty fortunate to be picked up by a club that went on to have plenty of success.
Some great memories with the Cats, and you're still forging them with the Giants, so it's fantastic. Now you've got the duty, though, of reading out selection 24. Hopefully you can hold that.
Yes, with pick 24, the Brisbane Lions select Cedric Cox from the North Ballarat Rebels.
Well done. Well done, Stevie, and thank you very
There's
much.
another surprise there, Kev.
Well, he's the boy, another boy from, of course, Halls Creek in WA and the Kimberleys that moved to Camperdown in country Victoria, spotted after playing some amazing games for Camperdown in the Hampden League, then to the North Ballarat Rebels. Let's have a look at him in action. He's the big mover, and what a wonderful mover he is, Mick.
Yeah, look, you mentioned where he's from, Kev. Remarkable story that a teacher that moved from Halls Creek gave him the opportunity to come down with him, thought it'd be a good idea to further his football, and obviously under the tutelage and guidance of Phil Partington, Gerald Fitzgerald and the guys at the North Ballarat Rebels.
Pick 25, the St Kilda Football Club has chosen Ben Long from the NT Thunder.
Fantastic nephew of Michael. What a name. There's always a Long or a Rioli taken in any draft, isn't there? And he's a boy that had a wonderful year. Played well for the NT as a 19-year-old in Division 2 of the Nationals. Stepped up to join that combined side, the Allies. Played some great games for the Allies. Then at the end of the year, he topped up for VFL side Footscray, the Western Bulldogs Alliance side, and played in a premiership side. And in the final series, he kicked the 6 goals. So he's done everything this year to present himself the year after he'd been overlooked. So that's fantastic news for Ben Long. Can play in a range of spots, forward, back, through the mid. Great news.
A big congratulations there to Wally Gallio too, Kev. We both know Wally quite well, and the NT State talent manager. He's put in a lot of time with Ben Long and been very, very patient with him, so he gets his first selection for the night too.
Geelong are next up with pick number 26. Stephen Wells there, recruiting manager there.
With pick 26, the Geelong Football Club have chosen Brandon Parfitt from North Adelaide Football Club.
Back-to-back for the NT and for Walleney's team up there. Brilliant to see Brandon Parfitt taken. An All-Australian last year as a 17-year-old. A very powerful inside midfielder or small forward. Steps through that traffic. He's moved down to North Adelaide to pursue his footy. A boy in the National Academy. Got a few tricks and brilliant to see 2 NT boys taken one after the other here in the 20s.
He's one of those players too. There was just flashes of games on the MCG for the National Academy that you thought, geez, I can see him doing that in an AFL club, Guernsey. So hard, tough, and very, very talented, Brandon. So look forward to seeing him get his opportunity.
Pick 27, Carlton Football Club, chosen Zach Fisher from Perth.
He's your lefty, Andrew Gaff type. He's talking about the way he plays. Prolific ball winner that was the MVP for WA at under 18 level this year. He's a boy that pushed up and played some great senior footy at Perth this year. Prior to that, had a terrific, we'd call it production year, just kept producing games one after the other at a high level, and that MVP sort of certainly pitched him up as a certain draftee.
Another tough inside mid there.
With pick 28, the Western Bulldogs have chosen Patrick Lipinski from the Northern Knights Football Club.
He's a boy that midfield or forward, lovely size, huge tank, come up through the Rookie Me program. In fact, backed himself a few years ago to try and make the AFL and joined that program to get some additional tuition. Plays for the Northern Knights and a boy that, really impressed at the combine with that running ability. I saw a game late in the year where he'd a little bit ill and had to push forward and play a roll-up forward for his side and starred. So prepared to take the game on, even if he was suffering a little bit in his lead-in. Great to see him rewarded.
The first time tonight we'll see the Richmond Football Club in action, pick 29.
Pick 29, the Richmond Football Club has chosen Shai Bolton from the South Fremantle Football Club.
Electrifying pace is what you'll say here. It's super in that All-Star game there at Punt Road. That'll be his training base now. Well, he really set that game alight with that pace. Goal-kicking ability. Kicked the 7 late in the year, didn't he, Mick, at Colts level that showed his elite ability at his 20 possessions. So he's just starting to unfold as a player.
Yeah, my first thought was, geez, he's going to be playing alongside Daniel Rioli, so certainly going to cause some headaches down at Tigerland.
Pick 30, the Collingwood Football Club has chosen Sam McClarty from the Oakley Chargers.
Wow, this boy, this is a super story. This boy's one of the best contested marks in the draft, a 197 centimetre boy.
He was born, well, stone deaf, and at 9 months of age, a bionic ear was inserted. He does not suffer one bit from having that inserted. Plays in a helmet. He's a wonderful young man. Wonderful to see him get his reward here. He had some injuries during the year, but gee, some of his work that I see for the Oakley Chargers, particularly in the air at both ends of the ground, was pretty special.
I think that just highlights the lack of tall defenders too, Kev. So not sure we expected him to go quite that high. He was around the mark, but with a limited number of tall defenders, and we hear a lot of talk around the ruckman. That's why I think we see guys like Sam McClarty jump up the order a little bit further. And he ticks off one of the key needs that we've identified for the Collingwood Football Club. The next pick is the Bombers at pick number 31. Now, Shifter, you recently rated a whole heap of picks and who the greatest of all time were. Simon Black, taken at pick 31, of course, the Brisbane Lions champion, one of the most decorated players in AFL history. Boy, the Bombers would be happy if they could get a player half as good as what Simon was.
I think they'd be dreaming to do that, hey. Simon Black, yeah, taking from East Fremantle, of course, there in Western Australia, and become a champion of the Brisbane Lions, a 300-game player and triple premiership player. Yeah, and such a ball winner. And Simon was an All-Australian in his year too. It was surprising because he wasn't over quick, that he remained there at 31, and then years on he becomes the best ever 31. So there are great players through the 30s, history tells us. They're going to take their time here, Essendon, and why wouldn't you as they consider which way they'll go? Yeah, so for the viewers at home, there's a fair chance that one or two players may have gone that they thought might have been there, or maybe there is someone there that they didn't expect to be there. So it's a matter of trying to get a feel for what you do with this pick, and then what type of player is going to be there for your next pick. So that's why they'll be doing a lot of deliberating here, trying to figure out, okay, what are our needs? What are we going to try and get with this one? And if we pass on that with this particular pick, are we still going to have the opportunity down the track?
Now, we talked earlier about the crazy system we have where the picks travel from one club to another. This pick has done the rounds. It's been from St Kilda, Collingwood, Brisbane, the Giants, Sydney, Port Adelaide, and now down to the Bombers. So,
yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think it's something that we often hear people talk and say a lot about. It's very American, but with free agency and the manic nature of the trade period now, I get the feeling we're going to see a lot more pick movement and player movement in the future.
Pick 31, the Essendon Football Club choose Josh Begley from the Eastern Rangers.
Wow, started playing, district footy in the east of Melbourne at the start of the year, and then stepped into the TAC Cup after some brilliant games, then kicked a 6 and a 5 playing as a medium forward. Pushed to the midfield later in the year, Josh Begley, powerfully built youngster, and has got that stoppage ability. So at the 186, 96 kilos already, so he's a big boy. A bit of Christian Petrarca about this boy. You can just picture that. So he's got some tricks, and that is that ability around goal, the ability to stoppage in the midfield.
Mick, you spoke about parts of our system that are borrowed from the American and the NFL system. Scott Clayton mentioned today he could see live trading on the night happening in the future. Do you forecast that could happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And personally, I know there'd be a lot of mums and dads at home that might not necessarily agree, but I think the ability to trade now, it would only be selections on the night, so players taken on the night that would be able to be traded further on. I just think it would add. I think it would be a brilliant addition to what we're doing. And I think the kids are really good now in the sense that they understand once your name's in there, you could potentially end up anywhere in the country.
Port Adelaide Shifter looking perhaps for some halfback run.
Pick 32, the Port Adelaide Football Club has chosen Joseph Atley from the Bendigo Pioneers.
Well done, Sarah. I'm not
Joe, the brother of Sean, of course, at North Melbourne. Joe, midfield, he's a stoppage player, strongly built, ready to run as well. He's got great vision, distributes it well by hand and foot. And he's a boy that's pushed up through the Bendigo Pioneers at under 18 level to play some good VFL games for Geelong. That showed that he could play at the next level straight away. Yeah, so a different type to the brother, but gee, he's got the same heart. He really loves to win the footy and has been dreaming of playing AFL for all of his life.
As we see the needs come up here Fox have gone with the key defender in the lab there. I'm wondering whether this could potentially be Brennan Cox, Kev, from Woodville West Torrens, a homegrown boy.
Yes, and of course an All-Australian from this year, so with performance on the board. He's a boy that can play at both ends of the ground, but he made his name as a defender with his intercept marking this year.
Looking at Joseph Atley from Rochester in country Victoria, just a stone's throw away from where I grew up in Echuca. I'm interested in the city v country and where the talent pool lies, do you think, Shifter?
My guess would be that they've come from the country.
With pick 33, Port Adelaide Football Club has chosen Willem Drew from the North Ballarat Rebels.
This is country again. Played for Koroit in the Hampden League Grand Final after playing all year for the North Ballarat Rebels. So he slipped back to play with the men back there, with his mates back at Koroit, and start in that game. So he's a contested ball winner, this boy. Just a hard-edged boy that plays on the inside, wins it at the stoppage, he'll push forward. I think he's from the Gleeson clan down there around Koroit. Remember Adrian Gleeson, a great player there at Carlton, so he's part of that clan. Yeah, hard-edged beauty, this boy.
Can we see sometimes, Mick, certain clubs have very strong systems, very strong coaches, and perhaps bring a lot through at once? As Shifter mentioned, the country being quite strong. We've seen a lot of West Aussie boys taken as well tonight.
It's been a theme and something that's been discussed over the last couple of years is, do the country boys have a hidden advantage in the sense that they haven't been overcoached, overexposed? So what you're seeing as they come through the talent pathway is the natural flair, and you're getting a raw product. And they've had some great success over the last few years with the likes of Jacob Wiedering, who adapted very, very well out of the country. Ollie Wines got mentioned earlier over at Port Adelaide. So going nicely, the Vic Country boys. And Willem Drew, having said they needed a defender, I have seen him play off half-back and rebound there. He's like that Josh Gibson, intercept mark, rebounding type of player. So very nice pick up there. And as we wait for the North Melbourne Footy Club with their next selection.
How many of these young men selected tonight will play senior footy next season?
Gee, I could see a lot out of that first round. When we looked at them, I thought there were just 4 that were tall. So you'd say the other 14 or so are the midfield types ready to run, including the smaller guys. So I'd reckon most of that first round we're going to see play in the first couple of games of next year. A lot of them contested ball winners, a lot of them strongly built as well. So I'd reckon they're going to get up pretty early, the boys like McGrath, Taranto, McCluggage, Ainsworth, etc.
All right, let's head to Ben Dixon. He has a special guest.
Andrew, it's finally over. Pick number 1. It was a long wait, and we heard from Hugh as well that they were going to keep you in the dark until the announcement, but you must be relieved now.
Yeah, it's a massive relief. No one really knew. Even the families didn't even know until the pick was read, so there was a few shaking arms, shaking legs, but yeah, it's awesome to finally be at a club, and a club such as Essendon, so yeah, I'm stoked.
How did your interview go with John Worsfold? He's pretty upfront, John. Hard player, hard coach. How was he in that?
He was great. Really good guy, to be honest. All the boys down at Essendon were awesome, and it looks like a really good place, and I can't wait to get started.
Canadian-born. It's a different choice of sport to come. Maybe next year on the wing against Geelong, Mark Blixabs, who's a steeper chaser. You're a 400-metre hurdler. You might just have a little showdown on the wing at the G.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. I've got to get a game first. But, yeah, that'd be awesome if that eventuates. And he might give me a little bit of a run for my money. So, looking forward to it.
It's nice now that you've been selected. Some of your mates haven't been selected. It's a nice little wait, though, and hopefully they find a home as well.
Yeah, it's awesome just to see all your mates here getting picked, and then hopefully a few more back home. Yeah, quite a few of my mates are at one of my good mate Matt's house, so they're all watching anxiously and hoping that a few more Brighton Grove boys get picked up.
Want to send a little cheerio out to the boys?
G'day boys, how you going?
Well done, fantastic. I'm glad you've gone to Essendon. You're relieved, everyone's relieved, the family, and good luck next year.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
With pick 34, the North Melbourne Football Club has chosen Declan Watson from the Aspley Football Club.
And this is a bid, of course. He's a Brisbane Lions Academy player. So they've popped in a bid for this player. The Lions have got the chance now to match that bid. North are noted for doing that. Over the years, they have been brave enough to the bid has been passed. They've passed. Okay. Yes. So they've allowed it to go through to North Melbourne.
For the second year running. Yep. So last year it was Corey Wagner, who was a Brisbane Lions Academy product that the Kangaroos picked up. this year. Declan Watson, that's quite surprising for mine, Kev, that they've passed there.
Well, gee, he's a talent. He's an intercept marker across half-back. Love the way he went about it this year. Reads the angles beautifully. And a lovely size player too at 192 centimetres, so genuine key position size, locally developed, and a boy that can play in that rebounding role across half-back for North Melbourne now into the future.
It may have had something to do, guys, with the fact of Brisbane having not enough picks late in the draft to match that. Potentially they don't want to go into deficit in 2017. May have had a part in that decision, but amazing how it works, isn't it? 2 Brisbane Lions Academy players 2 years in a row. On to North Melbourne again here, so just waiting for their pick as that's come in, and it's another bid. Kev, someone that you would have had a bit to do, or the son of someone you would have had a bit to do with?
This is the pressure on the Pies now. This is the son of Gavin Brown. What a star he was for the Pies. A champion player over 250 games, a Copeland Trophy winner, and of course an assistant coach now with North Melbourne. His boy Callum, a star at the Nationals this year. He's a boy that plays with great zest. We'll explain again in a minute.
With pick 35, Collingwood have matched the North Melbourne bid for Callum Brown of the Eastern Rangers Football Club.
Well, you'd expect that. They couldn't do anything but hay for Callum Brown, and all Australians we mentioned. Prolific ball winner.
No, I think that's outstanding too, Kev. We all still love a little bit of the, I guess, the history of the game and the romance of the game in a son being able to follow in his father's footsteps. So well done to the Collingwood Footy Club there and on matching that bid and getting Callum Brown. As you mentioned, he's certainly a worthwhile pick at 35 as well. That's where we roughly had him, the Fox ranked there at pick 27, not too far away.
Yeah, so in and under player, wins his own footy, distributes it well by hand particularly, plays with passion. Love the boys that are like that. He played for Vic Metro this year and was one of the dominant forces in them winning the national championship. Well done to Callum Brown.
See the Kangaroos as we're waiting in, so they've had a bid that was successful, a bid that got matched and went to the Pies. Interested to see what's next for the Kangaroos. I know early in the show when Kane highlighted the games out of the young players over the last couple of years, the Kangaroos were down in that area, so very important now that they start to select these players that they think can have some sort of impact early on in their 2017 season. Another pick in from the Kangaroos, and it's another bid. So, geez, they're putting the pressure on the club academies and the father-sons here.
Yes, it's Josh Williams, of course. He's the flying machine, the boy from Townsville. So we're talking far north Queensland again. This is fantastic for the growth of the game to see boys like Jack Bowes. We had him sort of taken early in top 10, but Josh Williams is one from Hermit Park Tigers, way up there in Townsville, moved down, of course, to the Gold Coast Suns to pursue his football dream, and that speed's his X-factor, breakaway speed.
With pick 36, the North Melbourne Football Club have chosen Josh Williams from the Service Paradise Footy Club.
So they get another one. It's 2 out of 3, so they haven't had a bad little run here and picked up 2 Queenslanders. So well done to the Kangaroos. He certainly adds, with losing Daniel Wells, he adds that real leg speed on the outside, that X-factor stuff, Kev, that we speak about a fair bit. And just while we're on the Queenslanders too, a shout out to Mark Browning, who will be watching this back in Queensland. Well done to him and his program too on getting a couple of Queenslanders up over the last few picks. So West Coast Eagles pick comes in here.
Pick 37, the West Coast Eagles have chosen Joshua Rotham from the West Perth Footy Club.
And stayed at home, of course, with this pick. Picked a guy of about the 192 centimetre running defender, electrifying pace. Reads the angles well. He gives you a rebound at a very, very high level with his precision kicking as well. A boy from West Perth that was a member of the NAB AFL Academy as well. So perfect shape, type and athlete for AFL football as we go forward.
And we have some fabulous vision from Daniel Venables, pick 13 to the West Coast Eagles. This is him at home at Taylors Lakes. the night his AFL dream was realised.
With pick 13, West Coast Eagles have chosen Daniel Venable. 38, the Fremantle Footy Club have chosen Sean Darcy from the Geelong Falcons.
That's fantastic, isn't it? To see that sort of reaction. You look at the family and the iPhone, so capturing the moment. Well done to Daniel Venables.
And now Sean Darcy's the next pick. He's the next ruckman to be taken. He's a massive unit, this boy. A bit like a mummy, a big mummified, big Shane Mumford. Sean Darcy, over 200 centimetres, over 100 kilos. One big boy, but uses the ball terrifically well, directs it well. He's a boy at Xavier College, but down from country Victoria.
And touted, Kev, to be the best tap ruckman in the draft.
With pick 39, the St Kilda Football Club has chosen Josh Battle from the Dandenong Stingrays.
They've got a beauty there, I reckon. He's the one that slipped through. I could have seen him going in the top 20 the way he's played in some big games this year. Kicked 6 in the final of TAC Cup, 6 goals playing as a lead-up forward. Got enormous endurance, presents brilliantly, a boy that had to make a decision between the cricket and the footy. We're the winners that he's chosen footy, and Mickey's going to be an asset for the Saints.
Oh, he is, and there's a fair chance as a Dufton boy gets to stay at home too, Kev, so fantastic result for Josh Battle, and for St Kilda fans, we are yet to see the best of this kid. We've seen him play predominantly deep forward. You mentioned he's a 9-minute 3K time trialist, so he has got elite endurance. He's a beautiful field kick of the footy and plays with real intent and aggression. So I think the Saints have got an absolute steal there at 39.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time once again for a very special guest announcer, and we're celebrating pick 40. And this man was picked up in 2010 by the Sydney Swans. He's gone on to be a premiership player and a best and fairest winner. And what a star he is. Would you welcome Luke Parker? How are you, Luke?
Very well.
Plenty of support here in the crowd. Obviously, footy's made a big impact in Sydney and continues to do so, and your boys are going well. What were your memories of being picked up at pick 40?
Yeah, draft night for me, I was basically just at home with my family, and I had my best mate and his family, and that was about all I wanted there. I was pretty nervy on the day. I was a bit unsure about if I'd go at all or where I was going. So for Sydney Swans to give me the opportunity that they have is just been such an incredible journey from that night.
And you've had some pretty massive highs along the way, but it's a challenge, isn't it? I guess, what would your advice be to the young men in the room here that are about to set off on their journey?
Yeah, I think the main thing is probably just to not take anything for granted. You don't know how long this career could last, I think. I've seen blokes with injuries, unfortunately, end their career early, and blokes who have had fantastic 14, 16-year careers. So basically to make the most of every moment and every opportunity that you get, I think the main thing is it doesn't matter whether you pick 1 or pick 50. I think I don't remember any of the picks, whoever comes to our club. So it's once you're in the AFL system, you just take it all.
And I'm sure the Swannies will be nice and fired up again for season 2017.
Yeah, for sure. We're looking really forward to it. The young boys started this week and came back in really good nick, so really excited for it.
Oh, you're an old boy now. You've got the job of announcing selection 40.
So pick number 40 for Geelong Cats have picked Tom Stewart from Geelong, VFL.
Well done, Luke.
And they've gone there for one from their VFL side, a 23-year-old that was runner-up in their best and fairest in the VFL and made the team of the year within the VFL as well. So can play in the talls and the smalls. He's been tutored by Matthew Scarlett. Is there anyone better than Matthew Scarlett to be teaching you how to play defence? So they've had him under their watchful eye, but of course he's in the open draft. The other clubs could have chosen him, and he's had a terrific year as a 23-year-old.
Pick 41, the Fremantle Football Club has chosen Brennan Cox from Woodville West Torrens.
Yeah, just quickly to go back on Tom Stewart, Kevin, and we touched on it earlier, Sarah. That's the message for the guys that don't get picked up tonight, is there is still hope, so don't give up on the dream.
All right, Jason Dunstall, it is back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. That concludes round 2. Many people have said it's a very deep draft, a lot of talent on offer, and whilst round 1 perhaps was more predictable, there's been a few bolters in round 2 already, Jono.
Yeah, there has been. I like Alex Witherden from down at Geelong St Joseph's. Great young man. I saw him during the week. He was training with the Geelong Falcons in preparation for stepping into the AFL environment. He gets his opportunity, which I'm wrapped for him.
have the clubs met their needs, Kane?
Looking at Collingwood, Jace, they had their first pick in that round. They picked a key defender in Sam McClarty. We knew that because they've lost Nathan Brown, Jack Frost. We knew they needed a key defender. And they also got the father-son, Callum Brown, which filled another one of their needs. So the Pies have done well with their first 2 picks.
Time for a break. It's the 2016 NAB AFL Draft from the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney, the magnificent city skyline. There might be a few young men celebrating later tonight. We'll be back with the 3rd round of the draft on the other side of the break. It's been a very exciting first 2 rounds of the 2016 NAB AFL Draft, but there is plenty still to play out tonight. Some clubs have not even entered the draft as yet, still hoping to get some talented youngsters. As we head back to Sarah Jones in the commentary position.
Thanks very much, Jace. Yes, dreams are coming true for so many young men across Australia, but I suppose, Mick, the key message to take away from tonight is there will be some guys that don't get picked up, but their journey is far from over.
It certainly is, and that's reflective in Tom Stewart, the selection we just saw there to Geelong. And it's only Monday too, Sarah, the rookie draft and the pre-season draft takes place, so might be a couple of days of disappointment for some. They'll get their opportunity come Monday, and for others, and maybe a couple of years down the track. But just important that these guys realise now that there are careers for mature age players down the track. So get back, play some good state league footy and keep pushing your name forward. Shifter,
we spoke about your 31-year involvement in the draft. Is that one of the best things that has come out of the past decade or so? We are a lot better equipped as an industry to deal with the young men that don't make it tonight.
Yeah, the clubs have got the resources to watch them at the next level, at state league level. At one stage, they had a total focus on underage footy. They've got pro scouts watching state leagues right around Australia.
And another bid player's just come in. I love this kid, Sarah. I'm going to make no bones about this one. He is he's just an absolute throwback footballer. Very, very similar in the sense last year to a Clayton Oliver. Not pretty athletically, Kev, but just finds the footy.
And then uses it so well, Mick, whether it's left or right, he's a good on either side. He's another boy from Broken Hill originally, moved down to Gold.
Pick 42, the Essendon Football Club have chosen Kobe Much from the Bendigo Pioneers.
Also passed over, of course, by the Giants. It could have had a crack. So Kobe Much, a boy that moved all the way into near Mildura at Gold, then down to play for the Bendigo Pioneers in the TAC Cup. An All-Australian this year. And as we mentioned, just a natural footballer, as you say. Hard, head over the footy, runs all day, uses it so smartly.
Outstanding on both sides of the body too, Kev. I know it's a big call, but Sam Mitchell-like.
Pick 43, Geelong Football Club have chosen Asava Rajagalaya from the Murray Bushrangers.
Good work there, Gil. Great work, because he's of Fijian heritage. Fantastic to see this boy that really emerged for the Murray Bushrangers this year when he kicked an 8 goals in a TAC Cup game playing at centre-half forward. Then was a late call into Vic Country and National 18s. Great athlete, tested super. He's a 194-centimetre boy, lovely 6'4", key position type that has got massive upside. He's already at 93 kilos, but in great physical condition. Great to see him get his opportunity.
Great to see the Brownlow medalist, Paddy Dangerfield, sitting at the Cats table, and a very good mate of Danger's, Rory Sloane, was judged your best ever pick, number 44. Incredible to think he got through that far.
Pick 44, the Adelaide Crows have chosen Miles Pahokee from the Dandenong Stingrays.
Yeah, fantastic result. When you speak of talent and somebody that hasn't really come through a traditional pathway, Kev, in terms of representing Vic Country at 16s or a bottom major, he came in this year. He's got exceptional hands overhead. Probably some of the best I've seen in my time of a player of his size, and super clean on the inside.
And he's a boy of the 184-centimetre mark, so just over the 6 foot, but plays taller than that. You mentioned his work overhead. Very powerful overhead, and really developed his game this year. Developed his tank, so his run and carry become good. He can get dangerous as a forward as well. He's really worked hard to get his opportunity, and gee, if he could be half as good as Rory Sloane at 44, they've got an excellent player.
Yeah, and Craig Black and Mark Wheeler have had fantastic success down there at the Dandenong Stingrays over the past few years. Miles Pahokee continues that.
Pick 45, Sydney Swans have chosen Jack Maybaum from the Eastern Rangers.
And gone for the key defender, and another one, All-Australian from his performances through the year. team-oriented player, plays his role, locks down his opponent. That's his first port of call to play that role and give rebound from defence. So very disciplined, team-oriented boy from out of the Eastern Ranges. That's a great result for them to get another player drafted.
With that too, Kev, just like you said, you can't get away from the fact he was all-Australian.
Pick 46, the Melbourne Football Club has chosen Mitchell Hannon from the Footscray Football Club, Gisborne Rookies.
Which I reckon, again, is terrific to see another guy get an opportunity that's playing state league footy. Mick's made the point, keep persevering, believe in your ability to actually match it against the listed players. Play in the state leagues of Australia if you're overlooked in your 18th, 19th year, and opportunities will come. He's been rewarded for that perseverance, and a guy that can play in a range of spots.
It's interesting too, Kev. It probably says a little bit for the standalone AFL clubs and what a good job they're doing with their reserves teams. They're generally more focused on player development than what they are in terms of the result of the game and winning games. But for Tom Stewart to get up and get an opportunity, for Mitch Hannon now to also get an opportunity at AFL level with the Demons after going through a standalone AFL club's reserve team, clearly doing a good job with the right emphasis and good coaching around these players.
We saw the draft combine in October produce a huge amount of data. Results, all sorts of things are tested. How much of that is taken into account? Are the clubs fairly settled on their order before this? Does something like that come into considerations and deliberations at this point?
I think it's part of the mix. You just call it, what's their point of difference? You know, we look for point of difference, X factor, competitive edge. Use those terms. How will they win the ball when they're playing one-on-one against a pretty good opponent? And it might be just that extra bit of reach or spring or that speed they've got off the mark to close down a good opponent. So it's part of the conversation the whole time, and that number that they achieve is a part of it too. If they say he's quick and then they say he does a sub 290 for 20 metres, you know he's real quick and he's in the top sort of 5 or 10%. So they quantify it in that way. So it always is part of the language used by the people in recruiting as they look at their combine results.
Time extended, and as we just saw from our Fox Footy rankings, there's still plenty of highly rated talent available at this point in the draft.
Yeah, well, I was just about to raise the same point there, Sarah. When you got the likes of Jonty Scharenberg still on the board, you know, a young man, outstanding young midfielder, Harrison McCready, another one. There's certainly no shortage of talent left on the board, and I think that's why we saw the amount of excitement we did leading into this draft.
So we have a bid pending. It does have such a big impact on the proceedings tonight, the involvement of the academies and their prize picks.
And Carlton again swooping in on a Giants academy boy, Stephen Silvani, at his very, very best. This is a boy from Henty, which is up in the Riverina, Harrison McCready. And they've passed on matching the bid, so Carlton pick up a key defender. A boy that in his 17th year looked as if he could be anything with his dash at 195
Pick 47,
centimetre.
Carlton Football Club have chosen Harrison McCready from the Giants Academy.
Wow.
And just to raise this and touch on this too, I think it's important. We're now starting to see a lot of these academy players going to other clubs. So we get a lot of talk through the media about what a massive advantage it is for the 4 AFL club academies, but what we're starting to see is they are developing talent for the rest of Australia, which is a really important point that needs to be recognised, Kev.
Yeah, and I think we'll measure the success of the academies in time based on the percentage playing in the game at the highest level. We were hoping for 20% tonight. We might get that, but the numbers have been taken, and not just by the 4 AFL clubs in Queensland and New South Wales. The other clubs are moving in as well.
So we saw Harrison McCready there, played in the 2016 Premiership with the GWS Giants at NEFL level as well. He was outstanding in the first half of his 17th year and looked at one stage, Sarah, when we all thought in the industry to be a top 10 draft pick. So he had to move out of the country, out of Henty. He moved in, went to King's College there in Sydney. They did a fantastic job, the Giants, in relocating him, and obviously now he's over at the Carlton Footy Club, and the old list manager at the Giants, Stephen Silvani's added another couple to the stocks.
Some heavy discussions here. The Sydney Swans Brains Trust, and John Longmire looks very intent on finding out exactly what the deal is here, because as we said, despite the fact that it is a later pick in the draft, you can unearth some gold.
Yeah, and Ken Beatson is there with the Sydney Swans, and he's had a long involvement with the game. He would have been at the table as they chose Luke Parker at choice 40 just 6 years ago. So he's a great judge, very, very thorough. We've seen John Blakey there in the foreground too, John Longmire now. These boys have been in the game for, well, all of their lives as players and coaches. Very astute. They know what they're after. They're going to take their time here. Are they thinking position now? Are they thinking key position? Are they thinking speed? There'll be some sort of emphasis here.
Ben Dixon has another interview. He has Sam Petrovsky-Seaton.
Sammy, you're actually shaking. We're on a platform here. It's going like this. It hasn't calmed down for you, has it?
Oh, no, it hasn't yet. I reckon soon. Give me about 30 minutes as soon as I get over the media and that. But yeah, man, I'm really wrapped and really excited and just a happy person in life at the moment and really achieved my goal, literally. Yeah, thank you.
Stephen Silvani was a big rap on you, and rightly so with your explosiveness. That's going to be beautiful to go to Carlton and show your worth.
Yeah, mate, I'm definitely looking forward, to getting stuck into it with the team and, showing my strengths around the club and, willing to improve on the weaknesses that I have.
It's a big year, though, isn't it? You play carnivals, you play all-star games, but to get here draft night must be a big relief for you.
Yeah, it's fun to say it. It's over in a way, but, just starting, probably in a day or two. But,
Pick 48, the Sydney Swans have chosen Darcy Cameron from the Claremont Football Club.
Yeah, no, it's grateful for that.
What about Brendan Bolton? He's only this size, so you can have an eye-to-eye conversation with him. He's a great coach. He's enthusiastic. Has he had a nice little quick chat to you already?
Oh, not just yet, but he said it's to me after everything's done. But yeah, definitely, you can just see it in his eyes. He loves to smile. He brings happiness to player, and I bet he, brings it to the club as well. I'm really looking forward for that happiness around the playing group as well.
You've had a terrific year, Sammy. Well done, and go and enjoy the Blues.
No, sure will. Thank you.
Pick 49, the Western Bulldogs have chosen Lewis Young from the Sturt Footy Club.
Just a couple to go back on here. We saw Darcy Cameron, Kev. He was the one that the Swans extended time on, put a bit more thought into.
And he's the ruckman, of course, at 204 centimetres, that persevered in the waffle at Claremont and has really developed, had a super year, tested very well at state combine level. He deserved his chance and has got it. And Lewis Young, of course.
It's amazing, too. I was talking to Darcy Cameron over there at that state combine. It was his third state combine he'd attended, so great result for him and proof that you don't give up. Sometimes the dream does actually still come true.
Pick 50, the Collingwood Football Club's chosen Cale Kirby from the Bendigo Pioneers.
The explosive small forward from the Bendigo Pioneers. A boy from up around the Swan Hill area that again grabbed a senior chance at Richmond in the VFL and starred. Innate ability around goal, this Indigenous boy. I know in Indigenous round, celebrated at many levels now in our game. He kicked 6 goals when captaining the Bendigo Pioneers this year. Explosive play, a bit of Byron Pickett about this boy. Runs hard and straight, and he gets his opportunity. Lewis Young, of course, a tall forward taken the selection before. He's a boy from SA, at the 197 centimetre mark. A goal kicker, strong overhead, and he got his opportunity.
Pick 51, the Adelaide Crows have chosen Elliot Himmelberg from Redland Football Club.
And his brother taken last year, Harrison Himmelberg, debuted, of course, for the Giants this year. And Elliot moved with his family up to Queensland, so remained in the open draft. So he wasn't qualified to be an academy player, open draft player. Wonderful size guy, 196 centimetres, that can play either end of the ground. Slips through this far because he got a bit injured later in the year. They couldn't get a complete handle on him. But, geez, an awesome shape and type for a key position down the track. And clubs are looking very closely at his progress over the last few weeks. He's training with the academies up there in Queensland. They were monitoring very, very closely to see that he's overcome his injury. So a potential key position player goes to the Adelaide Crows.
See West Coast, Kev, and a familiar name that we haven't heard read out just yet, Jake Waterman, the son of Chris Waterman over there. So the West Coast, I'd imagine, would be pretty happy about that in the event that they can get him a little bit later on. He doesn't cost much.
That's the way it goes, and same with Dacos. So they'd be quite happy that no one's bid at this stage, that they'll get them later on. Won't have to give up much, and we'll just wait to see when they bob up. Rowan O'Brien, again, a very experienced national recruiting manager.
with Adam Simpson, Brady Rawlings, one of the great draft choices out of Tassie, the star of the game with North Melbourne, of course, and really making his name now as a coach list manager of the West Coast Eagles.
How many recruiting staff are employed by clubs, both full-time and also part-time?
Well, some have got a dozen or more. It's quite amazing. In fact, one club's got over 20 that they engage in various capacities. Most would have 4 or 5 full-time, if you're talking your total job. But the others would be full-time every weekend, looking at football at all levels, including school football, state league footy, all the underage stuff. And they'd have 5 people at national under-18 games looking at, might be half a dozen players each, really zeroing in on everything they do in that game. They'd even go back to the tape and have a look at it again, thoroughly analysing every move they make.
And Mick, at what point does Adam Simpson become involved in the conversation? Throughout the course of a year, does he have regular meetings with his recruiting team? Is it not until the season is done and dusted that he starts to show a little bit more interest in it? Is it a different thing for each coach?
Yeah, it certainly is. I think the clubs that are getting it really right at the moment are the ones that are forming a stronger relationship between the coaching group and the recruiting department. It's a real area of shared service. It's important that the coaches are understanding the generation of players that are coming in and how to relate to them, and a lot of that comes through the knowledge of the recruiting staff and the time they spend with these kids. So look, I would imagine Adam Simpson would have had a look at players towards the back end of the year when the Eagles might have had a bye or something along those lines, and then particularly once the season wrapped up. But I don't imagine he would have had too much time on his hands during the year.
Pick 52, West Coast Eagles chosen Willie Rioli from the Glenelg Football Club.
Wow, wonderful. Another Rioli in the AFL, and hasn't this boy earned his opportunity? Lost 14 kilograms over about a 1.5 year period and had a brilliant year this year at Glenelg at senior level in the Sandful. He kicked 4 goals in the state game, won a game for Glenelg at senior level this year, and presented brilliantly, Mick, at our state combine level in fit, trim, condition. Always had the talent and the pennies dropped that he just needed to actually really look after himself and present well physically. Great to see him rewarded with his chance.
Yeah, absolutely, Kev. And like you say, sometimes it does just take a little longer.
Pick 53, Richmond has chosen Jack Graham from the North Adelaide Football Club.
Yeah, Jack Graham, fantastic, All-Australian, won the medal in the Division 1 NAB AFL Under-18 Championships this year. Great get late in the draft.
Jason, some more young men with their dreams coming true tonight. It is fabulous stuff. We cannot wait to watch them play over the next few seasons. It's back to you.
Absolutely, Sarah. So that's round 3 coming to a close, and probably over the halfway mark in terms of the total number of picks that will happen throughout the course of this year's draft. Some terrific selections. In particular, Jono, we know that the Adelaide Crows picked up a jet with Rory Sloane at pick number 44 back in 2008. You like this year's pick number 44, also at the Adelaide Crows.
Extremely improving player, Miles Baholke. What I've seen this year through the NAB AFL Academy was a guy who was pretty raw when he first entered that environment. That elite environment, though, made him gain ground very quickly on a lot of players around him and then overtake some with the year that he had. So rapt that he's been able to get that opportunity now with the Adelaide Crows.
The Dockers had an incredibly disappointing 2016. You've been tracking them through the draft, Kane. What are you seeing?
And also through the trade period. I love what they did, bring Hamling, Hill, Kirsten in, keeping pick 7. They've gone tall in the draft with Logue at their first pick. They've picked a replacement for Aaron Sandilands, 200 centimetres, Sean Darcy. I like that pick, but the Dockers have gone tall. Looking forward to replacing how good Sandilands has been.
Yep.
Can't keep playing forever.
Plenty still to look forward to tonight. We've got the remainder of the draft. That's rounds 4 through 8 coming up on the other side of the break. Three rounds down in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. We're coming to you from the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney. I reckon there's still plenty of young men out there along with their families and friends, very, very nervous, hoping to get a chance. We're about to get into rounds 4 through 8. Let's rejoin our commentators, led by Sarah Jones.
Thank you very much, Jason Dunstall. Kevin, we're going to see for the draftees tonight their life change in ways they probably wouldn't have imagined. It's their first job. What does the wage scenario entail? Because they'll be earning some pretty good money for kids straight out of high school.
Well, they do get a pretty good base for a start, which is around the $80,000 base, and it's around $3,500 a game. So if you play a lot, you're going to get a pretty useful salary in your first year out of high school. The thing that really will appeal to them straight away is that I've got to have an impact when I get to my club. And that's still side bottom a number of years ago now. It was about 2008, within days of being drafted. Won the time trial at Collingwood and made a statement that I'm going to be a player at your footy club. So that's the first thing they'll do. They'll be training within days and need to make that statement.
And some guys too may have the opportunity to go home and collect their things and have a few days back, for argument's sake, in Western Australia, like a Sam Petrevski-Seton. Others, it'll literally be an overnight trip for some of the boys that remain in their own state. It'll be an opportunity to fulfil some media commitments in the morning, get home, pack up the gear and get into the footy club, get on with business.
Pick 54, the GWS Giants have chosen Lachlan Tiziani from the Giants Academy.
It's remarkable, isn't it, Kev? He was part of the GWS Academy for the last couple of years. He played some knee-full footy with the GWS Giants last year and then came back as a 19-year-old, and it took until then for him to be selected.
And become a dangerous medium leading forward this year. After we sent him through midfield, half-back last year, it just shows you mature at different rates, and he becomes such a dangerous goal kicker for the Bushies this year. A different element was learnt to his game, and good enough to see him now get onto a list. And yeah, 189-centimetre boy, lead up forward.
No obvious holes in the Giants list to be filling as well. So I suppose everything they gain tonight is just more class, more youth on their side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see the pick come in for the Saints, which has been a bid on Brisbane Lions Academy player Jacob Allison, an All-Australian as a 17-year-old, Kev.
Yeah, with a few tricks too. He's a boy, a 194 centimetre, 6'3" midfielder that can run and belt it off the one step. We saw him play on a wing at that size this year as a lead-up forward, so he's got a few strings to the bow. Another Queenslander. Wonderful to see that the number of boys from Queensland that are now being considered for AFL. He's a boy actually born in Geelong that moved up there. Many families do. Why would you want to stay down in Geelong if it's cold and wet? And when you can live up in Brisbane, and that's what happened with the family. So Jacob Allison, an All-Australian at 17 years of age, is the bid.
Pick 55. The Brisbane Lions have matched St Kilda's bid for Jacob Allison from the Aspley Football Club. The Lions
Academy. Slip through.
Yeah, fantastic result. Didn't actually cost the Lions much, and that's what we mentioned earlier with Declan Watson, Sarah, was they wouldn't have had the points to then select a bid for, match a bid, sorry, on Jacob Allison later in the draft. So clearly Jacob was viewed as more of a need in terms of their list than what the tall defender was in Declan Watson. So fantastic that another Queenslander, Adrian Fletcher, Jimmy Urquhart and Mark Browning, doing a fantastic job again in that part of the market that continues to grow within the AFL.
St Kilda took massive steps in their development under Alan Richardson in 2016. They do have some ageing stars. They have needed some more midfield depth. What would they be chatting about with Alan Richardson now?
Well, they're going to look for the same type of player. Here we're identified a guy that has got speed and a wonderful kick. Are they their priority, speed and accurate use of the footy? I think so with many of the players that Tony Elshaw has drafted in recent years, that they prioritise that as non-negotiables, if you like. If we're going to get a guy in, we're not going to work on those parts. You can't make them quicker if they're not quick, and it is very hard to rectify some kicking deficiencies. So that'd be the sort of conversation that Richardson and Elshaw would be having here as they look now down their boards. It looks like they're about to make a call.
As we see the needs up there on the board, you've still got the likes of Jonty Scharenberg sitting there. You've got Tom Williamson, that's a beautiful size and exceptional athlete from the North Ballarat Rebels. A couple of guys on Dylan Clark, the brother of North Melbourne player Ryan, an All-Australian as well, Kev. So still some absolute outstanding quality. And I tell you who would be happy watching all this unfold is the Hawthorn Footy Club, knowing that they're yet to make their mark in 2016 in the draft. But with the talent still on the board there, they're certainly going to get a gem.
Pick 56, the St Kilda Football Club have chosen Ed Phillips from the Oakley Chargers.
Ed Phillips that really progressed with his footy this year. Tommy Phillips, his brother there at Collingwood, debuted this year. He's a boy that can play at either end of the ground, and he fits the bill for what we talked about. His pace stands out, his use of the ball stand out, and his versatility is another great asset to him.
The Collingwood Football Club with pick number 57, Andrew Embley, once taken at this number, so
Pick
another
57,
great star.
the Collingwood Football Club has chosen Josh Dacos from the Oakley Chargers.
Fantastic. The son of the Macedonian marvel goes to the Pies. There's hope for the Collingwood fans. If he could just be half as good, would do. Look, he's a promising player. Love his clean hands, love his use of the ball. So he doesn't fumble. He's got dates written all over him with the way he kicks that ball at 45 degrees across the ground and just lace out to his teammates. One of his better games was the All-Star game right at the end of the year against the best against the best. 18 disposals in that game. So I love the way he goes about it. He's still got massive improvement in him. So Pies fans, be patient, but brilliant to have Brown and Dacos on your list for next year. And I'm sure that they're going to do some marvellous things for the football club into the future.
I'm sure the marketing department is very pleased.
Yeah, it certainly would be, Sarah. Not that they need any more members, the Collingwood Footy Club, but what I love about that too is that it was Collingwood that actually called the name out as well. So it wasn't a bid from another club or anything like that. They genuinely called his name out, which is a great result.
Pick 58, the GWS Giants have chosen Matthew De Boer from the Fremantle Football Club.
An interesting one.
Yeah, first of the recycled players, as we say that in all due respect, but Matt De Boer getting an opportunity to head across to GWS. He was part of some successful Fremantle teams, Kev, and might get another opportunity like Stevie J.
And at 26 years of age, they'll see a role for him. He's a tough, hard player, contested ball winner, can play the run with roles as well, so they'd see him as being able to just help them out as great backup with a strong body through the midfield.
We see Carlton's pick has been put in as well, so starting to move through this a little quicker at times, the clubs, as they start to assess and really pick for need at this point.
Pick 59, Carlton Football Club have chosen Cameron Polson from the Sandy Dragons.
Another Sandy Dragon, another boy that was in that successful side, the brilliant side that took all before them in the TAC Cup. Small forward, can push up through the midfield. Again, you're looking at pace and danger up around the sticks with Cam Polson.
We did joke earlier about Stephen Silvani's relationship with the GWS Giants, but in all seriousness, can specific clubs tend to form relationships with specific zones, other lists, other junior clubs, just because they know that talent pool quite well?
Well, I think that Stephen spent so much time up there looking at the Giants Academy. He would have seen some of these boys from 15 years of age and has had that advantage and would have had a rating on them and had that insight. And certainly once some of them were on their senior list, had even a greater insight as he'd get the feedback from their senior coaching panel on how they were developing. But for some of the boys just up for the draft for the first time, he would have known them since they were 15.
Pick 60, Geelong Footy Club's chosen Quinton Narkle from the Perth Footy Club.
He burst onto the scene, Quinton Narkle, through the championship period. Interesting science. Sam Powell-Pepper, that was selected earlier to the Port Adelaide Football Club, is a distant relative of Quinton Narkle. They're very, very close. And I spoke to Sam earlier this afternoon, wished him all the best for today and asked him how Quinton was going. He said he'd been outstanding. He's come off a lower leg injury, been working hard. Himself and Sam have been doing some training together back there in Perth. So big congratulations to Quinton Narkle. He had to turn his footy around. He had to improve his attitude after a disappointing 2015 season. But just goes to show for all the kids out there that it's not rocket science. You put your head down, you work hard, and generally you'll get the reward.
Prolific ball winner, this boy, playing for at Colts level back in WA and for WA at under-18 national level. Medium, mid, clean hands and pace. That's what you want in your players. Don't fumble it. Be able to dash away with it. And he certainly showed that sparkle when he represented WA this year.
And our first pass of the evening.
Yes, as we start to move through, so one particular club out of the running now. And we're down.
Why do clubs pass? They've obviously got quotas on their list. They come in with a targeted amount of players that they're prepared to draft.
That's right. So they've got some flexibility at the end there. They might leave a spot open on their senior list, or they'll have the chance of having an additional player on their rookie list. The rookie draft selection takes place on Monday, so they've got some flexibility here as to whether they want to sit and look and see for the rookie draft on Monday or take another player now.
Yep. And we've just seen another pass there, Mick.
Yeah, so 2 clubs out of the draft now. So GWS Giants have called it a night, along with the Collingwood Football Club. So just to reiterate to the listeners back at home, once a club does pass, that does mean that their night's over.
There's a few that we've got Hawthorn to come, so there's still other clubs that will come. I still think there'll be another dozen or more selections. So it's just an indication that a couple of clubs are out. There's still a bit to go yet. Hang in there, boys, if you still think you're a chance.
Hawthorn, of course, so active during the trade period. We saw Mitchell, O'Meara and Vickery come to the club. Of course, the big one's out with Jordan Lewis and Sam Mitchell, but it has meant they've come tonight with not a very large hand to play in the draft. They sit back, they watch, and they hope that someone perhaps they rated at about 30 or 40 slips all the way through to 60, 70, 80.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the beauty of the club that's in a position like Hawthorn are with their list that can afford to leave it that late in the draft.
Pick 61, Carlton Football Club's chosen Tom Williamson from the North Ballarat Rebels.
And all the details pretty vital. This is a boy, doesn't turn 18 until December, a late birth. He's a lovely sized boy at 188, 189 from the North Ballarat Rebels. Left footer, uses it really, really well. Super athlete. Didn't he test well at the draft combine? He's elite in many, many categories. So you've got to take that late birth date into account. He's got so much further development in him. And it's been a terrific night for the North Ballarat Rebels with Williamson now adding to their little crew.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kev. He's an outstanding athlete, Tom Williamson.
Pick 62, the Adelaide Crows have chosen Matthew Signorello from the South Morang Football Club.
So another one there, guys, a little bit out of left field, Matthew Signorello. So I touched on that earlier with some clubs do like to go with the guys that haven't come through traditional pathways just to really work with that raw talent.
And we've got some great reactions from guys right across the country. Obviously, we wait to see those over the next few days in the media. We love hearing from them, their family, their friends. And we'll see all that over the next few days. The personalities come out when they have media conferences tomorrow morning. When the clubs put them up in their colours for the first time, we really get that first glimpse into the personalities of these young men.
Yeah, and I like to see, Sarah, the clubs allow the players to be themselves. I think it's really important that each individual takes their unique characteristics into a footy club environment. I think we keep trying to turn young men into robots. We're going to end up with some pretty boring places at footy clubs. But having said that, understand the significance of sponsors and guys representing the brand really well. But I'd really like to see clubs encourage players to continue to be themselves and bring their strengths into their environment.
John Worsfold nodding his head there. Looks like the Bombers have come up with some kind of decision. A big year for them in 2017, given the band players that are returning, the hope that's at the club, the #1 draft pick, Andy McGrath, we saw tonight. It is a big moment for a club that has been down and out for quite a few years.
Yeah, it is, Sarah, and Jace mentioned off the top, I don't hide, I'm a Essendon supporter, so look, I think they're going to be okay. To be able to retain the players they did in Hurley and Hooker, to develop Parrish, Francis, Horatio Fantasia, I think they're in a pretty good spot, the Bombers.
Pick 63, the Essendon Football Club's chosen Dylan Clark from the Eastern Rangers.
Wow, fantastic for him. Brother of Ryan, a boy at North Melbourne that debuted this year, won a Rising Star nomination. And Dylan, what a wonderful leader this boy is. A slightly different type of player, contested ball winner, tough as nails, wins it on the inside, a lefty, runs all day, an elite athlete. Again, he proved that at our combine. He was up in the top handful. And look at those disposals there, 25 a game. I love that the All-Australian next to the CV that he's produced against the best in the country when he played in the national championships. And you can just see the depth of the draft when boys with, well, football credentials like he are available at choice 63.
Pick 64, the Melbourne Footy Club's chosen Dion Johnston from the Oakley Chargers.
Indigenous boy from down in the Hampden region at a private school in Melbourne. Look, his radar around the goals is pretty special, absolutely special. Just can find those sticks, and so that's his point of difference.
Interesting to see again. There's still some real league talent. You've got Sam Walker from South Australia. I'm surprised a rebounding halfback, did some fantastic jobs on talented players throughout the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. Still on the board, as we see here. Paddy Kerr, the big tall forward out of the Oakley Chargers. Hamish Brayshaw, brother of Angus at Melbourne, still on the board too.
Pick 65, Carlton Football Club's chosen Patrick Kerr from the Oakley Chargers.
Wow, that's fantastic. The grandson of Laurie Kerr, a legend at Carlton Football Club and a power broker there, a great player in his day too. And Patrick Kerr was an All-Australian mid-year. He's a leading forward about the 194 centimetre mark. Great set of hands, kicks big long goals, kicked 4 goals in a matter of minutes to win Vic Metro a game this year. Amazing that he's still there at 65, and yeah, just love him on the lead, love his kicking at goal. Terrific young man as well, and at 65 he's a steal for Carlton.
Pick 66 for the Dockers is in.
Pick 66, Fremantle Football Club's chosen Luke Ryan from the Coburg Lions.
And great result, Kev, isn't it? Just to see another mature age player from the Coburg Footy Club come through and attended the National Combine, performed really well.
Yeah, Peter German coaches them there. He won the round Fothergill medal that they present to the most promising player in the VFL. And so that's the way he played this year, across half-back, a rangy type of player, prolific ball winner. Didn't work out for him his under 18 years, so he went back to some local footy and then had a crack at the VFL and was a star for Coburg before being injured later in the year, but prolific across half-back.
And guys, we've got another bid that's come in from the Cats on Gold Coast Suns Academy prospect Brad Shear. So an exceptional performer. Talented midfielder, Kev, very thick set, but won the under-16 Division 2 medal back on the Gold Coast for the best player a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I like his work at stoppages, and up forward he can get dangerous as well as a 186.
Pick 67, the Gold Coast Suns have matched Geelong's bid for Brad Shear from the Gold Coast Academy.
And was a star for the Allies in that first win for that brand new team in Division 1 of our Nationals. The Allies, a combination of all the sides out of Division 2, hadn't won a game, but in the dying minutes it was Shear that marked and then miraculously kicked a goal from the boundary line to get them over the line. You'll see a little bit of him in action here. So he's a natural footballer, strong contested ball winner, terrific at the stoppages. As you can see, strong overhead and not over quick, but you don't have to be over quick if you read it well. There's that goal. There he is, just steps around at the moment to do the impossible.
Pick 68, Geelong Football Club's chosen Tim House from the Geelong VFL.
Another one of their own there, guys. But just to touch on that one, Kev, I remember watching that goal that Brad Shear kicked at the time. He actually played on and went to chip it inside, got called to play on, and then just casually, as you like, popped it through to win the game.
And I'll touch on Tim House there, a tall forward that's been playing in their VFL under Shane O'Brien, a boy that moved from Western Australia across to pursue an AFL dream at VFL level in Victoria. 194 centimetre boy. They've obviously seen enough of him to give him a chance on their list.
The professionalism it takes to be an AFL player, what percentage of players adapt immediately and what percentage find it a little bit of a rude wake-up call?
I'd be surprised, Sarah, if there's too many that come in now and find it really challenging. The guys through the talent pathway, state academies, and just do an outstanding job. We're very, very lucky to have some good people looking after these young men and preparing them well.
All right, so the Gold Coast have passed. We're back with Geelong.
Pick 69, Geelong Football Club chosen Ryan Abbott from the Grovedale Tigers.
And another boy that's stayed local that has pushed up and played in their VFL, a ruckman. I think that there's no doubt that they see a spot for a backup ruckman, someone that they've been working with, again, under Shane O'Brien at VFL level. I think there's a terrific endorsement in the last 7 or 8 picks to see so many of the boys getting up out of the VFL and show that you don't need to have necessarily come up through the elite underage program.
Guys, just interesting. I just saw Brad Shear walk past us, so maybe the Gold Coast Suns knew something that we didn't, but fantastic for him to be in the building tonight.
Pick 70, the Western Bulldogs, Fergus Green from the Bendigo Pioneers.
Well,
that
he's
concludes round 4, and we'll move immediately to round 5 of the draft.
He's our bolter from the blue, absolutely bolter from the blue. Not in the 180 we tested, and through rookie me, they had another testing day. I snuck along and had a look at this boy to a 15-plus beep test. I'd actually seen him playing for Sandhurst during the year when he wasn't playing for the Bendigo Pioneers. I happened to be up there and he kicked about 3 or 4 goals in a game at that level, at just Bendigo Football League level. Showed a bit and I followed up just his background a little and played some good games for the Bendigo Pioneers late in the year, but he was from left field. Great to see Fergus Green get an opportunity.
And the Gold Coast Suns have just passed, so we see them conclude their night. No doubt be very, very happy with what they've been able to get in the draft.
The Brisbane Lions, such a pivotal night, and time will be the only thing that can tell whether they get the decisions right tonight or not. But a new direction for the club. Hugh McCluggage, a steal really at 3, considering many people touted him the #1 pick. Berry there at 17. So they've been able to get some good talent into the club.
Yeah, and 4 out of those 5 coming through the NAB AFL Academy, Sarah. So those boys are very well prepared by former coach Brenton Sanderson, the new coach Luke Power, and guys like Fox's own Brad Johnson that work very closely with those young men. This pick 71 has come in from the Brisbane Lions, and like I said, they are a very fresh-looking group in terms of their off-field and their on-field, and we look forward to seeing what they can do next year.
Pick 71, Brisbane Lions, chosen Corey Lyons from the Sandringham Dragons.
Wow, have the Sandy Dragons had a big night?
Yep, so 2 things here. Jared Lyons' brother, the former Adelaide Crow, that's moved up to the Gold Coast, up to Queensland, and his brother will go just up the road, up to the Brisbane Lions, and I think he's the best and fairest winner in this premiership year for the Sandy Dragons too. I thought he should get drafted on watching his form for Vic Metro on the way he played late in the year. Prolific ball winner, footy smarts all over him, courageous player as well. And again, it's just pointing out to me that the terrifically credentialed boys are there later on. Corey Lyons gets his chance. The son of Marty Lyons, who played some footy with Melbourne in his day.
Another good story. So many good stories to emerge from tonight. The Fremantle Football Club have passed. Mick, at this stage of the draft, we are going to see a fair bit of movement. Clubs passing quite quickly. Yeah, we certainly will. And look, that just highlights, like we said, Sarah, it gives them a couple of days now to go away and to reassess and see what they might need through the rookie draft. And, you know, we've seen a number of players come through and be elevated off rookie lists to play AFL football. So many different paths for many different young men, but the Richmond Footy Club picks in, which we should hear fairly shortly, and the Tigers getting towards the back end of their night.
Pick 72, the Richmond Football Club's chosen Ryan Garthwaite from the Murray Bushrangers.
He's a proven performer, Ryan Garthwaite. He had an outstanding grand final in a losing team for the Murray Bushrangers. Played really well for the Allies, and again we see
those key defenders. He slipped quite away in what we thought, from 54 on the Fox rank there to 72.
And because the Giants had passed, they can't match the bid, so he's automatically a Tiger. As you say, Mick, loved his one-on-one stuff. Agile, athletic, courageous, gives you a dash out of the fence as well. A very good player for the Murray Bushrangers in the TAC Cup finals, and when he got his chance for the Allies as well.
The Power have also now passed. So North Melbourne with pick number 73.
Really important time. It's interesting, you know, we did highlight the Kangaroos and the lack of games into the young guys earlier, but having said that, they were unfortunate with a number of their guys that sustained season-ending or really long extended period time on the sideline through injury. So a little bit for the Kangas to do, and everyone knows, and we're pretty clear on the direction that they're heading in terms of regenerating that list.
Huge exits in terms of experience last year. Of course, the big one, Brent Harvey.
Yeah, and he's now going to be working with the NAB AFL Academy as well.
Pick 73, North Melbourne Footy Club's chosen Nick Larkey from the Oakley Chargers.
Fantastic to see. Loved the way he finished his year. 198-centimetre boy, so he's genuine key position size. Great contested mark, can play either end of the ground. So I love that about him. So I think it's that versatility that separates him from others. And he's a boy that did play some Vic Metro footy in national championships. Only lightly built, you need to put on the body, but he's got the size straight away at 198, 6'6".
Welcome to the draft, the Hawthorn Football Club. It's taken to pick 74 for them to have their moment.
Pick 74, Hawthorn Football Club's chosen Harry Morrison from the Murray Bushrangers.
A late inclusion to the NAB All-Stars game, Harry Morrison. He got the call up when Will Brodie was unavailable through injury and stepped in and again performed really well. And they're the really small windows, Kev, of opportunity that players can make the most of and earn themselves a spot on an AFL list.
Take your chances. He was injured during the year. He come good late in the year with his fitness, but he's a classy ball user, and that's what Hawthorn always pick. They won't get through the door unless you can kick it well, so that's what he can do. That's his natural attribute. He's a boy from Benalla, of course. About the 182-centimetre mark. Play half-back, comes through the midfield. We get to the next pick.
Pick 75, the Adelaide Crows have chosen Ben Davis, the University of New South Wales, Maroubra Saints.
There's a fantastic story there. Exceptional young man. Geez, he's got brilliant character, extremely respectful. The brother of Sydney's Abe Davis, a 19-year-old that's come through the system this year under the tutelage of Ty Kennelly. And I know Darren Denneman was a big rap, the New South Wales ACT State Talent Manager, on Ben Davis. So fantastic for Ben to get his opportunity late in the draft. And he just gives you that real versatility up forward. You look at what the Crows have got there. They've got a guy that's good on the lead. He's good in the air, and he's also talented for a kid of his size at ground level.
Pick 76, Hawthorn Football Club has chosen Mitchell Lewis from the Calder Cannons.
Wow, you lose a Mitchell and a Lewis. You gain a Mitchell Lewis.
Well, it is simple after all, isn't it? Great call there, Sarah. Yeah, he's a lovely size boy that'll play key forward. 196 centimetres, so 6'5", 94 kgs. That played for the Calder Cannons. Had a ripper game at one stage. He took about 15 marks. He can play, as I say, across half foot, also in the ruck, and then play back behind the ball as well. So marking's his great strength. A boy that has developed under the tutelage there of Andrew Johnson at the Calder Cannons, and a very impressive type he is.
Did I hear you say prior to the show, Sarah, can we bring back Jordan Lewis? Well, you sort of half got your wish there. You got a half a Lewis. Let's hope he can be half as good.
Geelong have passed, and so have the Sydney Swans, which leaves us with the West Coast Eagles at pick number 77. Incidentally, Ben Dixon picked at 77, Shifter, our very own.
Best ever, best of all time, best in 30 years. Can someone match him? But Ben, look, he was seriously a terrific player for Hawthorn. 203 games, selfless games too, as he provided great support to what a wonderful forward line he played in, and terrific to see now someone taken at 77, another player about to get the chance. Here it is.
Pick 77, the West Coast Eagles have chosen Jake Waterman from Claremont Football Club.
That's a sensational result. He's an outstanding young man, Jake. He's going to take a little bit of time. He's still developing and adding to his game, but geez, what he does give you is everything he's got. He's competitive, he's tough. He had a fantastic final series for the Claremont Colts, and again, just outstanding. Well done to the West Coast Eagles on calling the name of the son of a former dual premiership player in Chris Waterman.
And so it's the second player tonight under the father-son that the club has claimed them at the value they thought after there wasn't a bid, but they made their mind up that they want him on the list. Love his competitiveness, his strength overhead, Jake, his leadership. Best on the ground too in the Colts Grand Final in WA, so he had a terrific year. Captain WA at national under-18 level.
The Adelaide Crows have passed. And so have the Hawthorn Football Club at pick 78. So we knew they weren't going to do a great deal tonight, and that has been the case. This will be the final pick of the draft. So our hearts go out to all the young men sitting there nervously at home, hoping that this is you. But remember, there's plenty more opportunities.
And just on that, Sarah, the last pick in last year's draft was Ben Crocker, who went on to play some AFL footy at Collingwood this year. So doesn't matter what number you go. We heard Luke Parker say that. He didn't take too much of an interest in what they are. But once they're there, they're on an AFL list and they start in the same position as everyone else.
Shifter and Mick, you've been fabulous. Jason Dunstall, it's back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. That brings the selections in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft to a close. Of course, still a rookie draft and pre-season draft to take place, but a lot of talented young men taken, a lot of talented players haven't got an opportunity yet, but may still do so. Let's have a look at rounds 4 through 8, and in particular, Josh Dacos, great to see him join Callum Brown as a father-son at the Pies.
It's great, isn't it? The two names continuing there at Collingwood. Hopefully they have the same impact that their dads had. They'll forge their own careers, of course. Matthew DeBoer getting that opportunity. Played with Fremantle, delisted now, that opportunity with GWS.
Yeah, Jake Waterman also to the West Coast Eagles as that father-son. It was almost the last pick in the draft. Ben Jarman, the one that didn't get picked up, would feel for Ben, but you feel like the Crows will pick him up and give him a chance on the rookie list.
Yeah, a lot of those players that didn't get selected will be rookied a little later on. The Hawks came in the 70s with the third last and the last picks in the draft. They picked up a defender and a key forward.
And Sarah Jones got it, the call of the night just about. They've lost to Mitchell and Lewis, but they've gained Mitchell and Lewis. So it's fantastic from Hawthorn with Harry Morrison at 74 and Mitchell Lewis at 76.
Now, during the course of this evening, you spoke glowingly of a young man by the name of Miles Paholke, who was drafted at pick 44 by the Adelaide Crows. Well, sit back and have a look at the reaction of Miles and his family when his name was read out. Could you ask for a better reaction than that?
How good
Just
is that?
going nuts with all his mates. Even the dog was in the celebration.
Yeah, it is good as well. Every now and then you glance at mum and dad going, he's going into stage. So you try and look at their reaction a little bit. But everyone's pumped for Miles, and congratulations to him.
Fantastic stuff. A quick break now on Fox Footy. Just have a look at the dog.
Yeah.
He dead set packed himself when that all happened. We're going to take a break on Fox Footy, come back and have a look at exactly how your club did in the 2016 NAB AFL Draft. Stick with us. The NAB AFL Draft of 2016. Some absolute stars have taken the coveted #1 position over the journey. Not everyone a superstar, but most of them exceptional players that gave great service to their clubs. And we expect that those that made the top 10 in the class of 2016 will be no different. Michael Ablett rejoins us here on the panel. It was an exciting opening to the draft. You are an Essendon supporter. They had the coveted #1 pick. you desperately wanted them to pick McCluggage.
Yeah, well, the text's already gone out to Adrian Dodoro, Jace. Don't worry about that. I'm out of a job. Jono's just got a pay rise because he's picked it. So, yeah, it's been fantastic working on the Fox Footy panel for one of the last times.
We expect to see a lot more, Kane, of these 10 young men over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I like Petreski-Seaton at Carlton. I think they were heavily reliant on Cripps and Gibbs in there last year through the midfield at Carlton. So I think he comes in and plays straight away and fills a need for Carlton. But so much talent, where do we start?
If we take a look at the feeder clubs for the players picked in tonight's draft, we raved about the Dragons early on, but they're only tied at the top. But I think it's fair to say, if you count who had the most early picks, Jono, it's the Premiership under-18 organisation of the Sandringham Dragons.
Yeah, 4 picks in the first 11, so they bolted out in front, the Sandringham Dragons. Look, a couple other clubs did even it up in the end, but when you look at that top-end talent, that's the reason why they were so dominant throughout the TAC Cup year and why they went on to win the Premiership in that competition.
And they have some outstanding challenges, the Oakley Chargers and the Sandy Dragons, in the amount of players they have to play throughout the year. So when their private schoolers come back, they can have up to 16 changes in their team.
Yeah,
so fantastic result for both those clubs.
All right, if you've just happened to join us, great opportunity to sit back now as we run through each of the clubs and tell you exactly who you have drafted and what type of player they're going to be. Kick it off with the Adelaide Crows, and we think they've done very, very well.
Well, they have. We've pumped up Miles Maholke enough, so we'll stop talking about him for 5 minutes. Jordan Gallucci, the biggest quads I've seen in a junior player since Easton Wood was drafted. So congratulations to those two guys drafted in the first couple from Adelaide. And Himmelberg, Elliot Himmelberg from Mount Grad, a key defender. I think he'll grow into that role as the years go on.
All right, take us through the Brisbane Lions, Mick, because they had pick number 3, was the first one that brought them into the draft, and this is a young, growing team that needs talent.
It certainly is, Jason. They got my man. They got Hugh McCluggage, so that's outstanding. They'd be absolutely wrapped with that. Jared Berry's a very, very good prospect. So you look there, and 4 out of those 6 picks, Jono, are NAB AFL Academy members, so those guys will be ready to go and step in. But what they've got is exceptional character, and I think that's what they've gone for in a market that needs good people.
4 picks inside the top 25. You'd expect that to bring a lot of much-needed talent to the Brisbane Lions. So I think some work well done by the recruiting staff at the Brisbane Lions. The Carlton Football Club is... well, it's under new leadership in Brendan Bolton. Had an exciting first year, Kane. What did you make of their selections tonight?
Still turning their list over. 28 list changes they've made in the last 2 years. They had 4 picks inside 20 last year, and now to get this talent in this year, along with the players that they bought in the trade period, young talent, Marchbank, Pickett, they're doing a good job of turning that list over. They got the number 1 pick from last year, Wiedering, and as we mentioned, Petreski-Seaton playing through the midfield to support Cripps and Gibbs and hopefully a fit Mark Murphy. They're on the right track.
Hopefully the supporters at home that are looking at their team, and maybe the clubs that didn't make the 8 thinking, wow, now we're starting to build a squad that can actually start to jump up the table. And I think under the leadership of that man there in Brendan Bolton, the Carlton Football Club's well placed to start moving forward. The Collingwood Football Club snagged a couple of desperately wanted father-son selections. The names of Dacos and Brown will continue on. They also picked up a couple of handy other players.
Yeah, well, they did, but in some ways the story will be about Brown and Dacos, I think, initially, but McClarty and Kirby will hold their own over the years to come. But it is great that father-son tradition has continued with there. We know the impact that the dads had. These guys will want to forge their own careers, no doubt, and how quickly they can do it, we wait and see. But once young Dacos there dribbles one from the boundary line, I think everyone will go crazy.
I've got to tell you, Michael, as a supporter of the Essendon Football Club, I find them the hardest team to get a handle on next year. We know they've got all those players coming back that have been suspended last season and had no impact, and we don't know what effect that's going to have on missing a full season of AFL. But then you also bring in the number 1 pick in Andrew McGrath. You get Ridley and Begley and Much and Clark. A lot of talent coming in. I don't know how they're going to go next year.
Yeah, well, that's the million-dollar question, Jace. How are those guys that have spent a year out of footy going to come back in? Are they going to get injured? Are they going to be able to get through? I think if they can stay on the park, as well as the players they've blooded in Parrish, Fantasia, Francis, you look at guys like Langford that are still there and Jaden Laverty, and now you're adding in an absolute athletic freak like Andy McGrath, I think they might be okay.
In the pre-draft show, Kane, we spoke to you about which teams face the most pressure, and you had Essendon up there. How do you think they've done?
Well, I'll tell you in a couple of years when we see them play. It's hard to judge now, but I do like their spine. I like that Stewart comes from the Giants in the trade period. If he can hold down a forward spot, let Hooker settle across half-back, their spine's really good. We know that. Danaher, Hurley, Hooker, they've got a good list. How they gel together, we don't know, but the midfield looks good with Merritt, Heppel and McGrath will go through there as well. So talent in 3 or 4 years, you'd expect the Bombers to be up pushing for that top 4 position.
I might stick with you, Kane, because you kept a keen eye on the Dockers throughout the course of the draft as well, and this was the team that fell off the face of the earth in 2016. Can they bounce back quickly next season?
Oh, they have to. 4 games they won last year. It's so disappointing. No one saw it coming. They went tall. Logue at number 8 is a tall, athletic, running defender. They also got the ruckman to back up the big fella Sanderland, so the replacement for him. So hard to know. We'll be able to say in time, but I did love what they did through the trade period. Hill, Hamling, Kirsten, McCarthy comes in for the Giants after spending 12 months out of the game.
Luke Ryan at pick number 66. Here's a stat that I don't know if you gentlemen are aware of. It's just come through into my ear very nicely. In the VFL, they award the Fothergill Medal to the best under-22 player. For the last 10 consecutive years, that player has been drafted, and it was Luke Ryan.
Yeah, well, they have got a history, Jace, of doing that, haven't they, with the more mature age players that can step in and play a role immediately.
We've seen a few of them have great success. The Cats, they stuck a little bit local with a number of their selections, Jono, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Look, Brandon Parfitt is a fantastic young man. Look, he'll come over and he's highly skilled and has got a pretty strong work rate as well. And look, they did. When you look at Tim House was one of those players, and Ryan Abbott. So late in the draft, they were able to get a couple of local boys that represented down in that area.
They're all in, the Cats. They're all in, pushing to remain in the top 4. Only
How
2.
exciting is that, Kane? When you've just been drafted and you're chatting to Paddy Dangerfield.
What's he doing here? Won the Brownlow and he's at the draft. What is he doing here? But they also got a backup for Tom Hawkins, which they needed in this draft also.
Oh, exciting times for those young men there. Gold Coast was one of the teams you looked at pre-draft as well. They had 4 picks inside the top 10. There's no excuses for them anymore. We can't keep making excuses for the Suns.
No, not when they've got the picks at their disposal like they did today. Looking through, it looks a real winner. Ainsworth, we know, is a powerhouse. Scrimshaw, the tallish defender. A couple of midfielders to replace the ones that they lost through the trade period. So I'd expect them to be really difficult to beat next year, Gold Coast, especially at home. Ablett comes back, Swallow, and the key position stocks they've got.
That is strong, Mick. What the names we saw there, that is the strongest of the lot so far.
Even Brad Shear at 67 was a very good bargain selection, I would have thought.
Yeah, and not unlike the Brisbane Lions, they've gone for guys that are very, very good mates and that are close. So I don't think that's just by coincidence. I'd say they're trying to build a culture and a real friendship around the footy club that might see them go into the next 8 or 10 years.
Mick, the Giants had plenty of selections coming in. They traded up to get pick 2, and that got them the ability to get Setterfield a little bit later on, and they look to have recruited very well.
They've had an outstanding night, no doubt about that. You've got Harry Perryman there, and we spoke about a replacement for Heath Shaw, and that was mentioned a lot in the media. Harry Perryman's a star. Will Setterfield, he's going to be an exceptional player that's been injury interrupted, and then you get the likes of Isaac Cumming just floating around on half-back flank or through the midfield as well. So, fantastic night for the Giants and more success on the way, I'd imagine.
Now, John, it's fair to say over the last 8 or 9 years, the Hawks have been one of the powerhouse teams. They didn't enter the draft till most teams had actually passed and decided to drop out. They came in late. They did most of their work with Mitchell O'Meara and Vickery in the trade period and free agent. So, a couple of late selections in Morrison and Lewis.
And that's the way they've operated for the last 3 to 5 years, really, Hawthorn, when you look at it, the way that they've traded in some stars in the competition to keep their premiership hopes alive. And look, they faded this year. They've lost a couple of champions out of the club. But look, at the end of the day now, it may start where they still go with the philosophy they have.
Yep.
With hopefully a couple of the draft picks at the back end of the draft, they can have an impact for them.
So much pressure on O'Meara. Gave away their first pick next year, also the Hawks. So
right.
won't be featuring
Don't remind
in the first
me.
round last year. Saw his knee was strapped still at training the other day. Hasn't played for 2 years.
Stop talking.
Got to get him right. If they get him right, the rewards are there. If not, could be a disaster.
Kane, what about the fact that we didn't see the name Jarman pop up at either Adelaide or Hawthorn or any of the clubs?
Surprising the Crows wouldn't take him with a late pick. I mean, along the lines of Dacos, he's not a proven talent yet, but what have you got to lose? And I love the romance behind it.
Would you expect him to get rookie?
I'm sure they'll rookie list him.
100%.
All right, let's move on to the Melbourne Football Club. This is a team that looks to be on the move, and they've picked up a lot of good players in recent seasons, so not a great deal done at the draft table.
No, but Mitch Hannon, there was a lot of interest around him late in the year, a young man that played with the Footscray VFL team back there. Very, very exciting, and Dion Johnson got some real tricks, so he's going to add maybe a little bit of that old Aaron Davey class up around the forward line and give him another avenue to goal.
Demons fans should expect them to play finals next year. No excuses with the talent that they've brought in. Still the second youngest list in the competition, which surprised me, but no pressing needs on their list. They got the best young key forward in the competition. A mixture of experience and young guns through the midfield. I think they push into the 8 next year.
Now, Mick, North Melbourne's an interesting one. They've shown a penchant for drafting Queenslanders in recent years, and they've done it again tonight.
Yeah, unbelievable, isn't it? So they got Corey Wagner last year. Tonight they get Declan Watson and Josh Williams. What they have done here, when you look at these names, Simpkin and Williams give them outside class. So we've got Zeeble and Cunnington and these guys on the inside. They had to get leg speed. They had to get guys that can cause some damage on the outside, and that's exactly what they've done.
And that use going inside forward 50 as well. Like Simpkin will, I know Boomer was the best at it, best in the competition still last year. Simpkin will get to that level, you think, within a couple of years.
Kane, you put the acid on your old club, Port Adelaide, heading into the draft. What's the result?
Well, if you look at what their needs were before the draft, it's 4 ticks. They needed a key forward. They got that. The best key forward in the draft was Todd Marshall. They got him. What I like about the mids that they've brought in, guys, is the size of them. The smallest midfielder there is at 186 centimetres. So it looks as though their bodies are ready to make an impact, which they need. They need to make finals next year. They haven't done so the last 2 years. They're under a bit of pressure, but it looks as though they've drafted extremely well.
Mick, what about the team that continually finds ways to disappoint its supporters? The Richmond Football Club, the Tiger Train, they're ready to roll. They just need to get on something.
Yeah, they do, Jace. And as we go to the board here tonight, I tell you what, when they selected Shea Bolton, I thought, gee whiz, that is genuine excitement. Now, let's hope it does come to fruition, but for him to play alongside Daniel Rioli, they could have a couple of really special Indigenous talented players there. Ryan Garthwaite, so they've just restocked their backline there to assist, obviously, in adding a little bit of marking prowess and a guy that can intercept the footy as well as shut down a dangerous tall forward.
Now, Jono, Kane spoke glowingly about the Melbourne list and the fact that they're ready to improve and play finals at times now. The Saints are heading in the same direction. They nearly made it this season. Can they take that next step in 2017?
Well, they sure. Yes, they can. They can continue to grow, no doubt. Ben Long was able to perform for the Footscray in the VFL in the final series. Played very well in the preliminary final in particular. And Josh Battle, I love this guy. Yeah, I really do. He's got unbelievable endurance. He attacks the ball hard. He attacks the contest hard. Can work up to the wing. So he will replace Nick Riewoldt in the future, no question. In terms of that work rate to push up to the logos, get back inside 50. He's got that ability about him.
There's no better team in the competition at maintaining a competitive list than the Sydney Swans. They've bought big-name players. They've got great talent coming through. They found themselves with a couple of first-round picks, and they picked up good young players again.
Oh, they'll be around the mark again, no doubt about that. Florent, you think, replaces Mitchell through the midfield, who they lost. Will Hayward was a surprise. Mick, probably slipped in your eyes. The first South Australian taken, a powerful, medium-sized forward who will slot in nicely next to Buddy, so they keep finding young talent.
Yeah, and again, a little bit of outside class. So we know what the Hannaberys and the Parkers and these guys produce. They added in Papley this year, and now they've got the class on the outside of Florent and Will Hayward.
Let's move on to the West Coast Eagles. Adam Simpson's looks to have a pretty exciting squad on his hands, and Venables is going to be a great pickup.
And there's another famous name there that we should mention.
At 52?
Willie Rioli, cousin of Cyril. Now, Cyril during the year even said that Willie's going to be the best one. I coached him at the Glenelg Footy Club. He's worked so hard on his fitness. I'd be surprised if he's not the best kick taken tonight. He's one of the best kicks that I've seen.
Is Cyril right?
Cyril, not quite right, but I think he'll come in, and you think about Mark Lacroix getting a little bit older towards the end of his career. It can slot in and play across the forward line. No doubt West Coast supporters will see him featuring next year.
Just to have that name running around is very, very exciting. And of course, last but certainly not least, the reigning premier, the Western Bulldogs, your old team. Jono, you were very keen on Tim English as a player.
Yeah, we were at the start of the draft. The best ruckman in the draft today, and the Bulldogs were able to secure him, 205 centimetres. So, you know, he'll work in the future years along with Roughhead and try and take the spot off those guys with Tommy Boyd as well. And Of course, Fergus Green. Of course, Shifter was there to see him play throughout the year. Pops up everywhere, Shifter. But the Western Bulldogs will be happy with that. Their list is very good, as we know. Very young still and still developing. Finished 7th this year. They've got to still reach top 4, the Dogs, to become consistent, I think, in this competition. But they pinched it this year, and well done to them.
Exciting times ahead. Let's hope that your team has drafted well and has every success in season 2017. For now, that brings our coverage of the 2016 NAB AFL Draft to a close. A big thank you to Sarah Jones, also to Kevin Sheehan, and to the boys on the panel here, to Michael Ablett, to Kane Corns, and to Brad Johnson. It's been a fantastic evening, boys. Enjoyed your work.
Well done, Jason.
For now, from the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney, it's good night, but we'll catch you again very soon here on Fox Footy. Good stuff, fella. Great work, Jason.